Hello. Hi. I saw that, Joy. I saw that. Okay, let's make sure this is on. Hear it. Okay, I can hear it now. Hi, welcome. Oh, my neck is already broken. What the heck? We're having early immersion break. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we're gonna start. Actually, hold up. Hello? All right, we started off great. Oh no. Hi. Also, Joy, I did see that. Thank you very much. We're one closer to our sub goal. Hello, everyone. We're starting off. We're starting off with some channel business first off because there's going to be some changes, some kind of big changes. Recently, I have been really leaning into the cozy games, which I still will do some of, but personally, my favorite games are actually horror games and a little bit more tense games. So going forward, I want to focus less on just cozy things and more on things that I enjoy and want to do. Which means there's obviously going to be some changes to the content. We're obviously we're starting today. Persona series playthrough. Do you want me to? I will. I will play the entire Persona series. I own all of them. I when I did my first you said the magic words. If you guys are interested, I would love to play through the Persona series for you guys. It is one of my favorite series. I know it's obviously really popular and there's lots of people out there that have played it. But it is one of my favorite series. So I would love to do that. That was a Brennan Lee Mulligan level. Let me talk about birds. I have been watching a lot of Brennan videos lately, so that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, things like that, things like Persona, are super huge to me. Obviously, today we're playing a visual novel. I love visual novels so much. I have tons in my library that I haven't even touched. And so I want to do some of those. And I also like old horror games, so like PS1, PS2 era. I'm not very good at them, but it is something that I really want to be doing things in the niche that I'm interested in, because there are a lot of really obscure niche games that I've seen that I'm like, I want to play that, and I'm going to finally start doing that. So we're starting today with a visual novel, a BL visual novel about the Taisho era of Japan, and there's like magic and psychedelic artwork and things like that, but it's what I want to do. So hopefully you guys are all down for that. We'll do more exciting games, more spooky games, more tense games. But occasionally we'll still do like Animal Crossing or Fashion Dreamer, stuff like that that's a little bit more chill, because there are still days that I'll feel a little less than great, and that's what I'll want to do. But so today, now we can switch back to here. I haven't even pressed yet because I don't know if there's going to be an opening cutscene or anything. But what we were playing, there's a pop-up, I believe, pinned. We're playing Hashihime of the Old Book Town. And I'm excited. I'm excited. If you guys decide you don't like it, no worries. You don't have to stay, obviously. But if you do, then I look forward to you joining me in the adventure. Any redistribution or of part or all of this contents is prohibited. Yeah, I'm streaming a legitimate copy off my Switch. Work of fiction, names, characters, businesses, places, events, locales, and instance are either the product of the imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Cool. Standard horror game stuff. Is it loud? It's kind of loud. Turn that down a little. Also, I'll be honest, most of the guys in this game are my type, so we're not hurting for anything here. That's a good opening. I have played a lot of Otome games that don't have great openings. Okay, so let's look real quick. I don't like to mute characters because ooh, change of text color, sure. I like to appreciate the voice acting in these games, especially because like this is a really expensive visual novel, and so I know that they've got good voice acting in it, and I really want to show that off. So what we'll be doing is kind of like what I did in Heavensward, where we'll let them say it first, and then I'll read the text. Okay, standard. Yep. Let's go! Let's go! According to the man, the phantom lived in the basement. Night after night, he would kidnap someone, tie them to a cold chair, and tell them his questionable life story until the break of dawn. He spoke. Without passion or emotion, he spoke about himself as if speaking of someone else. If I had to complain about one thing, it would be how cold the chair was. My second complaint would be that the man's story was boring. And my third was that the man seemed to want my final opinion on it. Why would you want something like that? Because I'm that creature. Up until a moment ago, I should have been gazing over the Shiodome River from Shin Bridge. As soon as I realized I had been kidnapped, I started to understand why the chair was so cold. You get it now, he asked. But before I offered my opinion, I had one question. When will the sun rise? Once I'm bored. Once I'm dawn. If the Phantom said it was night, it would become night. If he said it was morning, it would become morning. But once he did, it was no longer Japan. Nor was it another world. It was a so-called world of illusions, with its own concept of time that the monster controlled. Hi, Sloaney, welcome in! We just barely started. This story begins with me, a man harboring obscure anxieties about the transient world, being detained by a curious and grotesque monster. It's a miserable and beautiful story about me, finally clinging to life when faced with the truth, with true death and God. At least, it should have been. When he finished turning the last page, he tapped the now bare table with his middle finger. He seemed to be demanding something, or searching for something. It cut into the gramophone's brisk melody. At any rate, I could tell the behavior was out of disgust. What is this? What is this? What is this? Without thinking, I blurted out the same thing. I had expected his voice to be more full of praise and admiration. His reaction was somehow different from what I had imagined. Maybe I had given him the wrong manuscript? Thinking that that couldn't be possible, I took a peek. No matter how many times I looked it over, though, it was the story that I'd written, The Phantom in the Basement. It is so pretty. They are so pretty. Is this how the story ends? Yeah. No. I'll have more tomorrow. Tomorrow. I see. You showed me something defective. Defective is a mean way to put it. I was planning on making it a cereal. Kawase blew out the tobacco smoke he was holding in. An indescribable smile was waiting for me beyond the haze I parted. Nice voices too. They are nice voices. What are you smiling about? If you don't like it, give it back. Nope, there are still things I want to say. Kawase pulled the manuscript towards himself and looked it over again. He traced over the last lines with his pinky finger over and over again in disgust. When will the morning come? Once I'm dawn. I also don't get this awful pun. I used dawn for done. It's a play on words. A play on words, huh? Oops, how rude of me. His cigarette sprung up like a shishiodonshi and scattered ash all over the page. As if that weren't enough, he snubbed the flame out on my manuscript. The flame burned through several pages before the smoldering sound stopped. How rude! Sir, what is your problem? You don't like this? He tilted his head in confusion when I immediately gathered up the manuscript pages. Is it that important to you? That's so cute. Of course, it may only be one chapter, but it would have been complete in 2 or 3. That would have been a first for me. But now, ugh. An impressive hole pierced right through the middle of the manuscript. Sir. When I glared at him through that small peephole, Kawase pulled out his wallet in annoyance. How much will it cost for you to forgive me? That's not the problem. That's not the problem, Kawase. He was like an old man flashing a mouthful of gold teeth. Even if you use gold and silver to rebuild a collapsed wall, it's still not the wall you had to begin with. And yet, I wasn't such an ogre that I wouldn't take his feelings into consideration and try to settle things out of court, so to speak. Me too. Me too. 3 yen. Don't put such a high price on toilet paper. Toilet paper? You bastard! Don't give me that! What a thoroughly evil man. He was a devil, and he most likely had no idea what sort of feelings I had put into this manuscript. He couldn't imagine just how much planning, and more planning I put into each page with my hands, my eyes, and my heart. I faked a cough and let out a sigh. Me. Poor taste. Who's Tamamori? Is that our main character? I hadn't paid attention to his name. It wasn't as if I had no talent. Please drink water. I have water. There was no way I had no skill whatsoever. It was all Kawase's fault. He was an unfeeling, unemotional devil. What did you say just now? Yeah, okay, Tamamori is our main character. I said you have poor taste. I can't let that slide. I want you to say I have an eye for beauty. An eye for beauty, huh? You can't even recognize the value of this sparkling gem. I love the banter, it's so good! Are you trying to say you're some sort of diamond in the rough? Only your excuses are witty. Oh, there goes my low battery. See if I can do this without, wrecking my setup. Okay, we just detach the controller, but not the switch. Okay. And then we go like that. Hi, Night! Okay, hold up. We gotta switch our controllers now. Change grip order. I didn't realize they were gonna die so soon. Oh, maybe I should change out the other one. No, it's fine. Okay, back to it. Oh, I could have just closed it and reopened it. Come on. Here we go. Hey, Selena has a problem and it's causing me a lot of work. You want to see? Yeah, of course! Clover is chasing mosquitoes that are on the other side of the window again. She's too funny. Oh, Clover baby! Baby! It wasn't an excuse. Besides, I know you. I know just how much of a boring person you are. This was the 4th time I had asked Kawase for a critique. The first time, when I was nervous, he'd crumpled it up. The second time, when I was hopeful, he'd sent it flowing away on the river. And the third time, when I was fully prepared, he'd turned it into a paper airplane and sent it flying away into the sky. Oh my gosh, those are all her Loungefly and Mickey Mouse ears? Those are so cool! That's so cool! Her collection is so big! Hi, Mom! No matter what I show you, you're uninterested. No matter what I tell you, you're bored. All I can think is that you're the one with the problem. You really are a rude guy. If it resonates in my heart, I'll applaud you. If it moves me, I'll give you a pat on the head. That's creepy in and of itself. I want to ruffle that hair of yours soon. What exactly are you trying to say with that deadpan voice? Things like that could make me flare up at him again and again. But unable to find the right words for a comeback, I swallowed my feelings. I was the one who had asked a guy like this for critiques. I was the one who had brought it up, so there was absolutely no way I could back down. I'll redo it tomorrow. I look forward to it. Bring me one that's a little longer next time. Kawase said, tapping his wallet. After all, it may end up getting burnt again. For some odd reason, their voices remind me of Rakugo anime, but I think it's maybe because of the era it's in. Yeah, I think it's... I don't know, you could probably look and see if they were in it. I haven't actually seen Rakugo yet. Poor Tomomori, dealing with this guy. What an utterly vile man. Kawase lit his last match as he held a cigarette in his smirking mouth. But perhaps my curses had worked because it wouldn't light. In the end, the head of the match broke off and rolled tragically away. Serves you right, Kawase! Huh? It's damp. Hmm? The rainy season sure makes life difficult. Kawase commented on the weather as he tossed the matchbox away. The thin glass distorted the sky, making me worry even more about getting back. It felt as though the sound of the rain tapping against the window was telling me to hurry on home. I gotta get going. Eating, then running off. What an obnoxious guy you are. Rude. We came for a purpose. He put his cigarette out on our manuscript, and now he's telling us that we're obnoxious. Sir? Sir? Which one of us was being obnoxious now? I gathered up the remaining pages Kawase had read and discarded, then glared at him. Kawase brought his coffee to his now lonely lips, the corners of his eyes crinkling as he smiled crudely. One day, one of my stories will hit you so hard you'll look positively drunk. When I thought that, I cracked a smile as well. What a wicked face. Back at you. Tomorrow afternoon, your place. Oh, please do come. We still don't know who they are to each other. Don't even think about trying to run away from me. Oh. He got caught up by something. Of course, you'll eventually give in and be honest with me. Soon, our minor argument was suddenly drowned out by a deep rumbling, along with an eerie sound that seemed to be speeding right at us. The ground shook violently. I was immediately thrown to the floor. Waitresses screamed. Plates broke. The window panes creaked. Yeah, me too, Sloaney, me too! Kawase spat out his coffee. The moment I was flung from my seat, my manuscript scattered all over the place again. What had just happened? The roar grew distant and the shaking gradually subsided. One page from my manuscript gently covered the top of my head. He's clumsy? I mean, that's the trope. When I removed it and looked up at the ceiling, the chandelier, which was spinning around and around, made me dizzy. The guests and waitresses fell silent. They all had the same look on their faces. Yeah, me too. I would too. Only the gramophone sang its jazz like it was completely unaware. Did a huge car go by? Idiot, it was obviously an earthquake. An earthquake? This is the first time we've had one this big. Really? I feel like we've had a lot since last year. Damn. Kawase looked down at his chest and grieved for his uniform, which was damp with coffee. It wasn't all that bad. He could just wipe it off and let it dry on its own. But Kawase clicked his tongue dramatically. Today is the absolute worst. After he burned our manuscript with his cigarette. You can't handle a little coffee being spilled on you? Your clothes just got a little wet. They're not like your cheap rags. Word on the street is that dirty clothes are in style, right? You know what they say, a person's worth isn't in their clothes, but in their true character. What? We're starting off strong. What's inside matters more than outer appearances, huh? In that case, you should just get naked and show how noble your character really is. Sir? How do I know you? Tamamori, do not entertain that thought. That would be the fastest way, but dealing with the police would be scary. Don't entertain that thought. He's so rude. Why is he so rude? For why? Indeed, when it comes down to it, you just want people to see how unconventional you are, don't you? How crude. That's obvious just from looking at you. Sarcasm is like a Gatling gun. Feeling as though I should back off from Kawase and his pissy mood, I once again began to gather up my manuscript. Everyone in the earthquake-shaken cafe had calmed down and began to move. Everyone that was... Ugh. It's not coming out at all. Damn. Except for Kawase. Doesn't look stained to me. That was a personal attack against me because my glasses are always dirty, okay? That's because your glasses are already dirty. Just in case I cleaned my glasses and took another look, but I really couldn't understand what he was so upset about. Could black clothes be stained even blacker than they were to begin with? I guess his fussiness really was some kind of disorder. Yeah, me too, but like, if I stain my black shirts, I stain my black shirts. Even I wasn't stupid enough to fan the flames by trying to understand his pain. As I started to quickly try to wrap things up here, a waitress made her way towards us. Teiraise-san. What? I'll wipe you off. I'm glad my stream is marked mature. Whoa. Me too, Tamamori. She bowed and then fell to her knees and began to eagerly wipe off Kawase's uniform. Girl! Girl! Her pink handkerchief turned a faint coffee brown. Girl, men aren't worth it. If I could guess why she was doing this, then the actual person she was doing it to must have realized the waitress's feelings for him already. I wondered what Kawase would do. Well, it was pointless either way. Hey, about that. Stop. It's dirty. He's so mean. Right, your precious handkerchief will get dirty. That's why you shouldn't... I'm so glad I know this game is not about romancing, girls. I don't think I could handle this trope any more than I'm already handling it. It's okay. It's fine if it gets dirty. This handkerchief was embroidered by my grandmother, so it's important to me, but... Oh, there was a red flower blooming on it. Girl, please. The Imperial Universities. No, your clothes being stained is... Then maybe it shouldn't get dirty, girl. Kawase! Bro. I'm saying you're dirty. Huh?
知らないババアが触れた手ぬぐいなんてなおさら嫌だね。
I am speechless. The fact that some old woman touched that handkerchief just makes it even worse.
おばあちゃんの話は嘘です。
What?
私が思いました。
What I said about my grandmother was a lie. I'm the one who embroidered it. How cunning. It was like she knew she could attach some kind of sentimental value to a simple handkerchief just by starting off with, it's my grandmother's. That's not gonna save her. It's not gonna save her, and girl, don't. Girl, he's not worth it. Girl, he is not worth it. My gosh, my model, hold up. Why is my model freaking out? Okay. I don't... However, that only infuriated Kawase even more. Oh!
Emotional damage.
What? Drip, drip. Kawase poured his remaining coffee over the waitress's head. She trembled and let out a delayed yelp.
上級は上級らしく奉仕したら。
I am speechless. Why don't you act like a waitress and bring me another one on the house?
ご奉仕
On the
です
house?
か？
見てわかんないの？コーヒーがこぼれたんだ。この店の耐震が甘いせいだよ。おかわりくらい。
He's so rotten! He's so rotten! There is no way he's a dateable candidate. He is so rotten. Can't you tell? My coffee spilled. That's because this cafe wasn't built to withstand earthquakes. The least you can do is shut up and bring me another. What? The waitress was dumbfounded by his stone-cold eyes. Yeah, I would be too! You do not treat service workers this way! She probably never thought that the person she admired would ever treat her this way. Girl, I don't know what's wrong with you. Get away. You gotta get better taste. Normally, I would have kept quiet and ignored them, but today I found my eyes wandering nervously.
聞いてる？
Are you listening? Don't! There is no way he's a dateable option. There is no way. I'm glad my face tracking is working because the main character's just standing there watching. Kawase said, grabbing the waitress's hair and turning her ear toward him.
Kawase!
Okay, well, at least he's stepping in. Dude! I've never liked this hairstyle. Wouldn't it look cuter if it were chopped off? Naturally, everyone in the cafe was focusing their gazes on us. Yet naturally, the other waitresses were paralyzed with fear in the back, and even the timid chef made a rare appearance. Guy has no taste. Braids are peak. He's really got no taste. Come on. It is a cute hairstyle. I think he's just being weird. I don't know what's wrong with him. What a mess. Yeah, is that all you gotta say? What a mess. I don't know who this dude is to you, but like, what a mess. I don't think so. I think the guy with the mask is the villain. Because you and I looked at the thing earlier, and I'm pretty sure the guy with the mask is the villain. I don't think he's supposed to be a villain. I liked this cafe's food. That's your concern? Tamamori, be so for real. Now it would be awkward to come. Be so for real. Oh no, she's into it.
今すぐコーヒーをお持ちします。
For real? I hate it here. Got it. I'll bring you a cup of coffee right away.
Nani?
The waitress should have been in shock, but her eyes were sparkling. When Kawase let go of her hair, she went off to grab him another coffee with quite the spring in her step. Once she regrouped with the other waitresses, they went back to their lively chatter. She pressed the handkerchief Kawase had touched to her nose and ended up sharing its smell with the other servers. Girl, be so for real. What a stupid woman. Ugh, this was the one that fit me best, too. Well, I still have 3 left. Oh, Tamamori's gonna throw hands. Do it! Do it! Do it! Why? What? Ugh, I touched her dirty hair. Why? I said what? It is not. What? No, bro. I just found out I have a cursor. I didn't mean to do that. Bro, be so for real. Why does the world only revolve around you? You'd be happy if someone like that had a crush on you? The problem isn't whether I'd be happy or not. Ugh. Whatever. He shouldn't be able to get away with his oblivious tyranny. Oh, I guess he is oblivious to it. Okay, well, whatever. Thought that was a typo for obvious tyranny. If he'd been a politician, he would have been the target of scrutiny. If he'd been a soldier, he would have been called a rebel. But Kawase was forgiven. He doesn't deserve the good food the cafe serves for staying on the sideline. That must have been the luck he was born with. But what annoyed me even more was that he himself didn't seem to derive any joy from his own selfishness. Okay, so we got an unreliable narrator, and the first guy we meet is just rude. Noticing my unamused gaze, the malicious smile returned to Kawase's face.
ところで早く帰らないとまずいんじゃない？雨強くなってるよ。
By the way, don't you need to hurry on back? It's raining harder.
言われなくとも帰る。
I was already leaving. I remembered my manuscript, gathered it up, and tapped it against the table to straighten it out. Kawase's terrible mood was improving. Perhaps he was finally giving up on his uniform.
それにしてもおかしな古書店だよな。君が働く梅鉢堂ってのは。
Oh, he works at a bookstore. Anyways, that used bookstore where you work. Umi Bachiro, it's weird.
まあ、もう慣れた。
Oh, yeah, I'm already used to it.
さすが君も君ってやつだから。
Of course, that's the kind of guy you are.
おい、どういう意味だそれは。
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
変人同士お似合いって意味だよ。それじゃあね。期待してるよ、玉森くん。
The place suits weirdos like you. Well, see ya, I'm looking forward to the next one, Tamamori-kun. That damn wannabe editor. That's why you're asking for his critique? Two years ago, we came to the capital from the countryside of Aizu. Kawase and I had been together for as long as I could remember, so he was something like a childhood friend. Okay, normally I like the childhood friend trope. He's on thin ice. He better do something real good. Long ago, we would often play by the mountain streams. We'd fish and catch bugs and laugh together. I say laugh together, but Kawase had that same finicky personality even back then. They don't act like childhood friends, seriously. There's some childhood hatred there, I don't know. So he wouldn't touch the fish he caught and let all the bugs he kept die. Anyway, he was a fussy man. Okay, so he's a germaphobe. Is what I'm getting. Is that he has something wrong with him and now he doesn't like germs. That's why what I thought was fun and what he thought was fun were probably completely different. Neither seem like, good citizens. Yeah. You know, bad people make bad people make bad people make bad people worse? I don't know where I was going with that. Bad people, not bad people, but like, morally gray characters tend to end up with morally gray characters and it's fine. So, whatever. People were generally shocked whenever I talked about our relationship. They joked, friends today, enemies tomorrow. That's... I would think that too. For better or worse, he and I were complete opposites. Unlike me, Kawase was flexible, unique, special, a genius. Is that why he acts that way? Come on. My writing, like the piece from earlier, had the power to captivate people. And yet Kawase's true nature, like what he had shown the waitress and me, was pitch black. The reason we could hurl our insults at each other and still hang out together could be summed up in a few words. We were childhood friends. So you take abuse? I mean, I guess he's dishing it back out, so like... Okay. Jeez. The streetcar, which was running a little behind schedule, finally came. I love the music. This is a whirlwind. That's a start to a game. Suddenly pushed in, I was forced to stand in the corner of the car. The rain was coming down hard now, making the midday sky dim. It was a cold rain. I wondered how long this year's rainy season would last. Someone once said, instead of asking the rain in the sky, ask the cat.
What?
Cats. Animals. Speaking of animals, the streetcar went from Kanda Bridge to Jinbocho via the Nishikicho Riverside. Okay, it's gonna take me some while. Just pronounce some of these. A smoky fragrance gently wafted by when I jumped from the streetcar. It was the unique atmosphere that drifted through the old book town of Jinbocho. Used bookstores here and there were closing up their shops because of the rain. Customers were driven out in groups. The shopkeepers were indifferent to them only during times like this. The customers without umbrellas had no choice but to find a place to cover other than under the eaves. Overflowing with sighs, they ran through the old book town. I was in a hurry, but not because I wanted to get out of the rain. There was a reason I needed to get back to the shop right away. The shop was called Bachiro. Located on the outskirts of the old book town, it was an iron building that at first glance didn't appear to be a used bookstore. It was a mysterious building that looked more like a nobleman's storehouse or a bank's treasury. I leaned my umbrella against my shoulder and opened the doors using both hands and an abundance of force. We only opened shop during gloomy, rainy weather like this. I guess that's a good way to make money if everyone else is closed. Oh, it's so pretty. I want to work in a place like that. I want to be there. Boss, I'm back.
Hi.
Okay. The shopkeeper gave me a small nod from behind the shoji. He coughed a few times and seemed to be turning over in his bed. The shopkeeper said he suffered from an illness. That's why, in an effort to be as considerate as possible, I kept myself from hurrying as I headed up to the second floor. I burst into my room, stumbled, walked over the futon I never put away, and jumped toward the fishbowl. Goldfish! In the bowl was a goldfish swimming around in a huff. I looked down at him and felt like I could finally breathe. Thank goodness. The animal I had remembered on the streetcar was this guy. I'd been worried the earthquake earlier might have frightened him, but it didn't look like any water had spilled out. The bowl hadn't even moved. Also, keep fish in proper-sized containers. This is not a proper-sized container, but it's also fiction. Apparently, Umebaichiro didn't just look sturdy. The water was cloudy. I guess I had been so engrossed with my manuscript over the past 3 days and nights that I hadn't even thought about cleaning out his bowl. How's the music compared to me? Thankfully, he at least had some care for it because of the earthquake hole. How's the music? Is it too loud? Is it too soft? Can you hear it just fine? I want to make sure you guys can hear it because it's really good music. Music's good? Okay. You can still hear me okay? It does kind of remind me of Mystic Messenger, you're right. This won't do, I thought as I grasped the goldfish tightly in my hand and scooped it out of the dirty water. He just grabbed it with his hand? Okay. The goldfish writhed, gasping for air. I know you're suffering, but please hang in there. I threw the dirty water out of the window and tossed the goldfish into the now empty bowl. I take it back! I take it back! You'll have to suffer for just a little longer. I felt around the rain gutter above my head and pulled the cork plug. As soon as I did, the rain that had fallen from the roof into the gutter drained into the fishbowl. Okay, at least he's cleaning the water. Freed from gravity, the goldfish swam around peacefully. I plugged the rain gutter back up and was filled with the happiness at seeing my now content goldfish. A shadow suddenly flickered beneath the fishbowl. Hello? When I moved the bowl, I saw a red umbrella looking up at me in shock. That's not how it works, sobs. Crude as usual, I see. Oh, Minakami, what good timing. I just got back. Yeah. Perfect timing. It's raining again, just like you said it would. Thanks to you, I didn't get very wet. I see. What's wrong? You seem kind of down. Thank you, Minakami! I don't know you yet, but thank you for saying it. Thank you for saying it. I mean, it's just, don't grab your goldfish with your bare hands. So he'd even seen me doing that, huh? Someone in this game has sense? Let's hope he's not got something really wrong with him. The old man at the goldfish shop told me to do it that way. But I feel bad for it. 2 cents. 2 cents. 2 whole cents. What, you got a problem with it?
文句というか金魚飼育の助言というか
Not really a problem. More like advice on how to take care of your goldfish.
金魚屋の親父がこれでいいと言ったからそうしたまでだ。
I only did it because the old man at the goldfish shop told me it was okay to do it that way.
売り物の金魚もいっぱい死んでただろ
He's the only one with brain cells. And a bunch of the goldfish he's sold you have probably died, right?
ああ、なんでだろうな。
Yeah, I wonder why. Cause you're grabbing it with your bare
今日はやけ
hand!
に気が立ってるな
What's wrong? You're all worked up today.
まるで川瀬みたいに横暴だ
You're being a tyrant like Kawase. I was trying to hide my bad mood, but he'd seen right through me. When my face suddenly fell, he immediately smiled. Then he twirled his umbrella and came into the shop.
真面目くさって。
Stick it in the mud. Oh, stick in the mud, sorry. I thought he was telling him to stick it. Say what you want about my competitive nature, but I just didn't want to be compared to Kawase. I gave my goldfish a heap of food to console him, then went downstairs to where Minakami was waiting. It has to be the right amount of food, Tamamori. You're gonna kill another goldfish. Like Kawase, Minakami was another childhood friend from the same village. And also a student at the Imperial University. Minakami unwrapped the cloth he had brought with him and pulled out some books. He took a few and returned them to the shelf slowly enough to make me yawn. I watched this daily scene with my chin resting in my hand.
適当でいいのだ、みなかみ。ここは目的があってくる場所じゃない。適当に眺め、適当に手に取る。それが梅鉢堂の面白さだ。
Anywhere is fine, Minakami. This isn't the kind of place you go for something in particular. You randomly look around and randomly grab something. That's the charm of Bachido. It was probably just because neither I nor the shopkeeper wanted to go through the trouble of organizing. But wording it that way made it more novel.
そういうことだったのか吉屋の隣にルイコが並んでいるのを見てからこの店はおかしいと思っていたが
Is that it? Seeing Yoshia next to Ruiko makes me think this shop is strange, but... Minakami nodded in understanding as he continued to return the books to the shelf, his hands moving as if they were tracing constellations. I like him. I like him. He's a reader, and he's not been mean yet, and he's childhood friend trope.
だからお前は
I'm telling you.
なあ玉森今気がついたんだがやはり無意味なんてことはないよ
Hey, Tamamori, I just realized it now, but it's not completely meaningless. Minakami pointed toward the top shelf of the bookcase as if he'd found the planet Venus among the books.
いろはにほへっとほら例えばルイコの80万年後の社会の隣には吉屋の花物語が並んでる本の題名順に並べられているんだ
A, B, C, D, E. Look, for instance, Ruiko's The World 800,000 Years Later is next to Yoshia's Flower Tales. They're arranged by popularity.
それを適当というのだ。
That's random too. I finally stood up, grabbed the books from his hand, and shoved them onto the shelf.
考えすぎか
Am I overthinking it?
ミステリー好きがこうしたな。だが、規範があるなら守るに越したことはない。
I like him. I like him. Not Tamamori. I like Minakawa. Your love of mystery is getting worse, but if there's a pattern, it should be followed. I pulled out Kyosaku's double heart, which Minakami had just put back, and went to return it to the top shelf. Or at least, I tried to, but no matter how much I jumped, I couldn't reach. Oh, he's short. He's a short king. Minakami nudged the spine with his hand and pushed it to the back of the shelf.
玉森はこっちを頼む
I'll leave these to you, Tamamori. All 5 books he had given to me went on the bottom shelf. Before I could glare at him and tell him not to make fun of me, he looked back up. I reluctantly got on my knees and put away the books, following his lead.
結局、3日間で何冊読んだんだ
How many books did you end up reading over the past 3 days? Ooh, good question.
20冊は借りたかな
A man after my own heart. I borrowed 20 books, I think.
20冊って。
20 books? I hadn't even read that many books this year.
新作は入れたか
Do you have anything new?
1ヶ月前から何も変わっていないぞ。
Nothing's changed in a month.
そうか
I see. Did he sleep?
そうだなって。まさか、ここにある本、 全部読破したのか？
You sound disappointed. Don't tell me you've read all the books here.
おそらく。もうピンとくる題名はないから。
Probably. There aren't any new titles that stand out. Once Minakami had finished returning all 20 books he'd borrowed, he bent back and looked along the shelves. Then he let out a distant sigh full of a sense of accomplishment.
4000冊あるんだぞ。
We have 4,000 books.
何冊かすでに読んだことがあるものだったから、実際読んだのは300冊くらいだ。
I've already read some of the books here before, so I've actually only read about 3,000 of them.
一段落ついてしまったから。
I guess I've reached a stopping point. Minakami was an abnormally avid reader. If there was a story he hadn't read, it was like he couldn't relax until he had the book. Even though I say he couldn't relax, it was like he would fly into a frenzy. It wasn't like he would fly into a frenzy or anything. If he found a story he didn't know, he would gently take it in his hands, head to the register, and pay. Then he'd sell it back once he was done reading it. That was all. At first glance, he seemed to be a casual reader, but reading every book in the Imperial University's library was definitely abnormal.
そういえば、川瀬に批評をもらうとか言ってただろう。今日はどうだった？
By the way, you said Kawase was going to give you a critique, right? How did it go today?
あれな、散々だったよ。
Yeah, about that. He tore it apart.
散々？一体何が気に入らなかったんだろう。
Tore it apart? Just what didn't he like about it? Minakami looked thoroughly confused. Unable to bear seeing his face like that, I immediately averted my gaze. He didn't think there was such a thing as a poor piece of literature or writing. Oh, Minakami, my poor boy, you will learn. That's why he wouldn't hold back with his praise for me. Get you a man that praises you for your work. Honestly, when I realized that, I had wondered if it was really okay to find comfort in that ambiguity. And recently I had been asking that brute Kawase for his critiques. If Kawase was the whip, Minakami was the candy. He was a candy sweeter than Calspi. What my wounded ego needed right now was that sweet candy named Minakami.
明日の昼、川瀬が梅鉢堂に来ることになってる。だからお前も来い。そして川瀬に行って聞かせるのだ。
Kawase will be coming to Umebachido tomorrow afternoon. Come to and give Kawase a piece of your mind.
言って聞かせる？何をだ？
A piece of my mind? About what?
私の輝かざる才能についてだ。お前が言えば、奴も少しは私を見返すかもしれん。
He's begging for praise. That's okay. We all need some praise sometimes. About my shining ability. If you tell him, it may even change the way he sees me. Just a little.
すまん。明日の昼は講義があって、そう多くは時間を。
Sorry, I have class in the afternoon, so I don't have much time to...
私の言うことが聞けないのか？
Don't be mean to him! He's a good boy! You're not gonna do what I say?
嫌に必死だな。講義の合間に行けたら行くよ。
You're that desperate, huh? I'll come between classes if I can.
いいや、必ず来い。
Don't be mean, Tamamori! No, you will come.
だから行けたら。
I mean, if I can...
必ず来い。
Geez, now who's the selfish one? Seriously, you will come.
そう不安がるなよ。
Don't get in a tizzy. What? I wasn't in a tizzy at all. I was just lonely.
玉森らしくないな。
I mean, I get it. I get it. Sometimes we demand things when we're lonely. Also, my neck is broken again. Hi. What? Minakami deserves better. Surely he will get better than what Tamamori is acting like now. Please. He deserves better. This isn't like you, Tamamori. Oh. I accidentally went back.
これでも読んで元気出せ。
Read this and cheer up, Minakami said as he handed me the last book left in his hand. Wondering what it was, I took a look at the cover. It's Kyusaku Yumeno's Dogra Magra.
店の商品を借りっぱなしじゃ
I don't know
悪
what
い
that
よ。
one is.
読み終わったら商品として並べてくれて構わない。新作だから高値をつけてもいいんじゃないか？
Sorry for borrowing all the books in your shop. Once you're done with it, I don't mind if you add it to your lineup. It's new, so you could charge more for it.
いらん、持って帰れ。
Don't want it. Take it with you.
どうしてだ？喜ぶと思ったのに。
Why? I thought you'd enjoy it.
私は今忙しいのだ。他人の無双など見ていられん。
I'm busy at the moment. I don't need to see someone else's vision.
そうか。残念だな。
I see. That's too bad.
おい、勝手に商品に混ぜるな。
Hey, don't just go adding it to the shelf.
バレたか。
You caught me? You calmly put it on the shelf right in front of me. I was so irritable today, I couldn't even get through Minakami's little joke. I went back to the register and slumped over so far that I ended up lying across the counter. I saw a single piece of paper flutter down from my slanted point of view. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was written on it in bold print. I peeled it off the desk, lifting it high above my head out of reflex. Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
ずっ
Hyde?
と見たがっていただろ
You've been wanting to see it, right?
再上映されるのか。
They're showing it again? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was a horror film. The main characters were a man named Dr. Jekyll and his other personality, Hyde. It showed at the Nikatsu Theater in Kanda last spring, but I had missed its run, and now it was here. I couldn't believe Toyo Cinema was rerunning it. I checked the date and time. It would be playing tomorrow afternoon. Didn't seem to be some sort of cruel joke either.
奥さんから招待券をいただいたんだ。ご婦人方は怪奇映画に興味がないそうだ。
Madam gave me tickets. It would seem that ladies have no interest in horror films.
そりゃそうだ。女子供にはわからんよ。
I'm gonna smack Tamamori, but it's fine. Of course not. Women and children wouldn't understand.
けど、お前が忙しいんじゃな。
But you're busy.
行かない理由がない。
I have no reason not to go. I thrust the ticket deep into my sleeve. Minakami was shocked by how enthusiastically I'd made up my mind, but he just smiled and nodded.
そう言うと思ったよ。
I
明日の
figured
夜、
I
東洋
think
キネマで待ち合わせでいいか。
I figured you'd say that. Why don't we meet up at Toyo Cinema tomorrow night?
ま
Okay. Minakami folded his cloth and stuffed it into his bag, then put on his still damp mantle.
あ、もう行くのか。
Huh? You're leaving
京
already?
都に古い友人が来ているんだ。これから会いに行ってくる。
An old friend of mine has come to the capital. I'm off to meet up with him.
私の知り合いか。
Someone I know?
ああ、いいや。
Mm.
どうだろう。
No, I don't think so.
どうだろうってお前。
You don't think so? We were old friends. Didn't that mean they were just normal acquaintances? But Minakami would say nothing more about it, so I stopped pressing him. You're trying to show off again. I wasn't sure if he heard my grumbling, but he opened his umbrella and smiled even
勉
wider.
強も頑張れよ。
Keep up with your studies.
田舎に残したばあさんのためにもな。
For the grandmother you left back home in the country.
そう。
That has nothing to do with this. I was going to throw out my usual comeback, but instantly fell silent. As if he'd seen through it, Minakami furrowed his brows, but immediately hid behind the edge of his umbrella. Then, like a falling leaf, he swiftly passed me and disappeared. I like Minakami. He's so cute. Minakami was gone. All that remained was the sound of the rain. Still, he always left a strange, lingering presence. Maybe he himself didn't realize how unusual it felt. It must have been something only I noticed. Minakami never said goodbye. His departures were always vague. It made me think he would suddenly show up again if I called his name. I was probably the only one who noticed that. But keep up with my studies, huh? I rested my cheek against the counter again and flipped through a reference book Minakami had given me. It had been 2 years. Just looking at the old reference book made me realize that the time had gone by in the blink of an eye. I mentioned it before, but Kawase Minakami and I had come to the capital 2 years ago. To say the capital had the finest educational institute in Japan wouldn't have been an exaggeration. And we came to take the Imperial University's entrance exam. I had studied for it. Even though I sometimes read fantasy novels and went to the movies, I had studied ever so diligently, all the time. But a year later, only Kawase and Minakami were accepted to the Imperial University. Since I didn't think any of us would actually pass, I never dreamed I would be the only one to fail. Oh, the background's so cool. At the time, Minakami and I were under the care of a philanthropist named Oizumi. She was a widow who acted as if she didn't expect anything from us country bumpkins. Take as long as you like, she said. I had been moved by her words. But when it came to me, the one who didn't pass, she looked at me with blatant disgust. 2 years had gone by, and then this year, she had given me a final notice to vacate. She kicked me out of her house. She told me to be grateful she'd provided me with meals and a place to sleep. Like I cared. If you're gonna act like a virtuous person, see it through to the end. I provided food and a home for my goldfish, but I didn't feel any bitterness toward him. In fact, I wanted him to ask more of me. I was much more noble than she was. And the shopkeeper of Umebachiro was even more noble.
玉森くん、ちょっと散歩してくるよ。
Tamamori-kun, I'm going out for a stroll.
ああ、はい。
Okay,
店番お願いします。
please look after the shop. I heard the back door open. His footsteps and muffled coughs melted into the sound of the rain. It had only been a month ago. I'd been driven out of the Oizumi house. I'd fled from her home. Rain, like what we were having today, beating down on me. I had no money, no shelter. What had awaited me in the drizzle was Umebachiro's large front doors. To get out of the rain, I'd pretended to look for books. When I let out a gloomy sigh, though, the shopkeeper had spoken to me from the back of the store. I was like a broken record that day. I'd tried to say something, but I couldn't answer. My voice just cracked. It was the only sound I could get out. But the shopkeeper, with his calm voice full of understanding, had fixed the needle on my record and made me play it all out. He'd listened to how I'd fled from my previous lodgings, to how I hadn't eaten anything for half a day, to how it had been more than a day since I'd bathed. And once he was done listening, he offered me a deal. If I ran the shop, he would rent out the room on the second floor to me. The shop was closed when it was sunny. He said he wanted me to open up and run the shop only on rainy days. Every morning he would leave enough money for my meals for the day by the register. That was the only material exchange between us. That's right. I'd never seen the shop's owner, not even once. Well, whatever. I went back to leaning my face against my hand and watching the scenery blurred by the rain outside. I was bored. Not really bored, I just couldn't muster any strength into my sluggish body. Called lethargy. Lethargy? Lethargy, right? I don't know. But I urged myself on, grabbed a feather duster, and wandered around the shop. Suddenly, I felt like I saw Kawase through the bookshelves. It was definitely the image of the moment he dug his cigarette into my manuscript. Then, clear as day, I saw Kawase's vulgar smile. Apparently, I was having a hard time dealing with his harsh criticism. I looked away from that moment and plopped onto the floor. Oh, to sit between bookshelves of old books. A dream. It was annoying. Way too annoying. Maybe it would have been better if a complete stranger had said that to me, but I'd have to keep facing him tomorrow and the day after. There was no way I could run from him now. I was the one who'd asked for his critique. As a writer, all I could do was continue spewing out stories. A writer. What sort of writer was I if I couldn't satisfy a single person? Kawase holding me back was the reason I'd never considered taking anything to a publisher. There was probably nothing I could create that would ever captivate him. I'd probably never be able to write anything that would make that guy smile and tell me I'd done a good job. So then don't listen to him! Just go to a publisher! Listen to Minakami! Come on! Get some self-worth. I set my glasses on top of my head and used the palms of my hands to rub my closed eyes. Stars scattered behind my eyelids, and unusual sparkling patterns formed. When I opened my eyes, the area had transformed into a strange blue dimension. Hello! When I happened to look forward, I found this guy standing in the rain. Drops dramatically bounced off the leaf he was using as an umbrella. He seemed to be slowly thinking something over in his head while he held his breath in his stomach. I don't. Okay, we knew there was gonna be some psychedelic crap, so, like, I guess we made it. It was as if he had made up his mind about something. Frogman says, "Books, please!" That was all the frog said. Give me books, please!
ダメだ。お前のような異形に本は売れん。
He's taking this so well. No way, we don't sell books to strange creatures like you. Oh, hold up. I pressed a button. There we go. I pressed a button. I'm not a strange creature. I'm a first grader who loves to read. Okay, sure. Alright. By the way, this kind of thing happened to me quite often. This happened often?! Tamamori! We should have established this. That's a frog. I guess it's a first grader frog, but we should have established this. I'd had the ability to see strange things for a long time. Gotta go cook supper, but I hope the stream goes well. Okay, bye! Have a good supper! Except this wasn't anything supernatural. It was an illusion produced by my subconscious. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Honestly, there was a part of me that was a little disappointed this hallucination was only a frog. If his form had been more grotesque, this scene would have been much more dramatic. Dude, that's what you're worried about? Books, please!
Hey, 黙れ。
Hey, shut it. Books, please!
お前はあの日あの時あの橋で殺されたのだ。それに気づかぬ愚かな異形よ。
You were killed that day way back when, on the bridge, but you didn't realize what had happened, so you took on that stupid, weird form. Huh?
さあ、成仏しろ。
Now, rest in peace. Yeah, that wasn't so bad. It was strange, no matter how my poor creations may have been. In the moment, they seemed brilliant. Huh? Huh? I have so many questions? When I'd asked Kawase about that phenomenon, he'd called it narcissism derived from arrogance. Stop asking Kawase things. Stop asking Kawase. That's all I gotta say. It was definitely arrogance. Those stupid eyes, those short legs, that nervously trembling body. I was starting to find the hallucination somewhat amusing. Suddenly, I was no longer myself. The main character was... right, the owner of a used bookstore by all appearances, but he was secretly a medium. This is his imagination. It was a setup that made me think of a certain someone, but whatever. The art... What? The main character should be refined, composed, and wear glasses that make him look like an intellect. But then he would shockingly use a hickish word like ain't.
Ora.
Ain't. The frogman's eyes opened wide when he looked over at Haruhiko, the shopkeeper. Taking a direct hit, the frogman sank into the opposite wall. Cruel. You're so cruel.
おかえり願おう。ここは君の来る場所ではない。
I pray for your return home. You don't belong here. So cruel. I just wanted to read some books.
君にジンゴが読めるかね？
Can you read the human language?
から読むんです。そうして学んで僕も人間になって人間に。
I read because I can't read. I do it so I can learn and become human. So that human.
あ
Yes?
の人間とは
So that human? The tears the frogman cried turned into nourishment and replenished the moisture in his body. Plop! He rolled off the wall and took the defensive, turning his eyes tinged with rage toward Haruhiko. The frogman skillfully manipulated his tongue and began to push books off the shelves one by one. Haruhiko's attacks and blocks were in vain. As the tongue suddenly pierced through a bookcase, books rained down from the falling bookcase. However, the decision Haruhiko made in that very instant was even more surprising. See, like, the art is so pretty in this game. What the heck?
の
The true writing experience. Forgetting where you are. When I suddenly snapped out of it, I was lying on the floor grasping a pen. Before me was a manuscript I was in the middle of writing. Perhaps because I was writing before the ink could dry, there were several smeared letters smudged to the left. Apparently, I had been a little overzealous. I counted the scattered manuscript pages as I gathered them up, but I was missing the first page. When I happened to turn around, a man was looking down at me, concerned.
大丈夫ですか？
Are you alright?
ええ、大丈夫です。私は無事です。
Yeah, I'm alright, I'm safe.
無事？
Safe?
これ、足元に落ちていました。
Here, this fell by my feet.
ありがとうございます。
Oh, thank you. He was still standing there.
何か？
What?
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry. He jumped back and put some distance between us. He looked at me and scratched his eye patch as if he were embarrassed. Once I got a better look, I recognized him. He was a customer who always came in the evening. That meant that half of the day had already passed. I let out a directionless sigh. The man seemed to misunderstand and jumped a bit.
君は作家さんなんですね。
You're a writer, aren't you?
何か文句でも？
Got a problem with that?
いえ、そんな。落ちている原稿を少し読んでしまったんです。
No, of course not. I read a little of the manuscript you dropped.
悪気はないんです。ただ目について。すみません。面白かったです。
I didn't mean any harm. It just happened to catch my eye. I'm sorry. It was interesting.
それでこの私に何をですか？
Do you need something from me?
これをお会計してもらいたくて。
I'd like to buy this. In his hand was Kyosaku's dog Gramagra. Damn Minakami, he had ended up shoving it onto the bookshelf after all. I don't need money for that.
お代はいりません。でも結構真新しい本ですし。
It's a pretty new book, though.
いいんです。欲しいなら黙ってもらってください。
It's fine. If you want it, shut up and take it.
ありがとうございます。それじゃあご好意に甘えて。
Thank you. In that case, I appreciate your kindness. What an overly dramatic guy. Says the guy that got so caught up in writing that he was laying down on the floor surrounded by manuscript pages when a customer walked in. Come on, Tamamori. Get it together. He continued to stand there, nervously wringing his hands and biting his lip. I slipped past him and returned to the register. He looked at me as if he still had something to say. What is it? What?
何なんですか？
I can't read. What is with you?
すみません。
Sorry.
6時には店を閉めますよ。
The store's closing at 6.
I mean...
物々
交換というのはどうですか？
How about a trade? So that's what he decided to say? He slowly opened his bag and pulled out some sort of goldfish watering can made of tin. It's cute! I didn't expect him to place it by the register with a clunk.
Huh?
Huh?
僕、ブリキの収集が趣味で、
I collect tin toys, so... Not to the point where you carry them around, though, right?
あ、ごめんなさい。気持ち悪いですよね。いきなりこんなこと。ごめんなさい。
Sorry, giving you something like this out of the blue, that's creepy, isn't it? I'm sorry.
ごめんなさい。気持ち悪くてごめんなさい。
Oh, he's baby. He's probably got something really screwed up with him. Sorry for being creepy. It was creepy. What I was thinking must have gotten through to him. Once he'd calmed down, his face turned red and he ran out of Umebachido. Huh? The only ones left were me and the goldfish watering can. What was that about? I let out a sigh as I looked into the goldfish's pretty eyes. The sigh, though, was unrelated.
鬼人だな。
What a weirdo. Anyway, I'd managed to finish a short story about a heroic battle unfolding between a used bookstore owner and a yokai. I gathered the bulky manuscript and looked it over fondly. But for some reason, my face began to fall as I turned each page. Suddenly, it seemed boring. Figured Minakami would definitely enjoy it, since his tastes were closer to my own. But I mostly wondered how Kawase would feel about it. Stop asking Kawase! Drop him! You don't need him! Yeah, I should probably avoid showing it to Kawase. You don't need him! I turned the manuscript over and put the ink bottle on top as a weight. It was something like a gut feeling. For some reason, my suddenly cooled fervor made my heart feel as though it were crumbling to pieces. I wondered why. This was the first time I'd ever felt this way. At that moment, the cuckoo clock sleepily struck 6. It was closing time. The rain was coming down even harder, and it was so cold I wondered if it would turn into snow. Chasing out the sound of the rain, I closed the doors, then looked around the shop once more. In the end, the only customer today had been that man with the eye patch. But he hadn't really bought anything, so I had no money to turn over to the shopkeeper. Actually, I'd never earned more money than what the shopkeeper gave me for food. That was another reason that Umebachido was a mystery shop.
Tamamori-kun, 私は先に寝るよ。
Tamamori-kun, I'm heading to bed.
帰ってきていたんですか。
You're back!
ええ、2時間ほど前にね。声をかけたじゃないか。
Yes, I got back about 2 hours ago. I said something to you.
そういえば。
Now that you mention it... I'm back. Get away! It's dangerous here!
何かと戦って。
I guess you were fighting something. Ah! He was fighting his inner demons! Oh my gosh!
それじゃ、おやすみなさい。
Well, good night. I like this shopkeeper doesn't bring it up again. He's just like, you were fighting something. Good night. The light clicked off. I'll be going to the bathhouse.
風邪をひかないようにね。
Alright, try not to catch a cold. As far as I could remember, the shopkeeper had never pressed me about money. Not even once. In short, this place was heaven to an unscrupulous person such as myself. Even though it was only 6 o'clock, the sky was totally dark thanks to the rainy weather. Everyone was deep under their umbrellas, while I was freezing under my black mantle. Dude doesn't have an umbrella? I should have at least worn long sleeves, but I'd ended up foolishly picking out a short-sleeved dress shirt, so I was freezing. People who were weak to the cold were gathered at Sarugakucho's Kikai bathhouse. Wow, sight reading those is not easy. The old men passing me by smelled unseasonably of yuzu. Once I'd gone through the dressing room into the baths, the place was filled with nothing but old and middle-aged men. What looked like an old woman's head bobbed among them. Huh? 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 I took my place in the middle as I watched the old woman's head sway. Speaking of old women, keep up with your studies, for the grandmother you left out in the country. I recalled Minakami's words. It's a little late, but here's some background on myself. My father and mother died when I was young. Right before I was born, my father was attacked by a bear and died. Then, when I was young, my mother disappeared from our village. Alright! After that, I had lived with my grandfather and grandmother, just the three of us. The last year, I found out my grandfather had passed away. My grandmother was my only blood relative left on this earth. Felt like my grandmother and I were connected by some sort of spiritual power. If there was anything I wanted to eat or anything I desired, she knew exactly what it was and gave it to me right away. Oh, he's spoiled. He's spoiled. We were connected. Well, maybe not quite. The connection was only a one-way thing. I knew nothing about her. Good job, dude. Even now, it felt like my grandmother was watching me from somewhere. The old woman turned around. It was an old man. Of course an old woman wouldn't be hanging out in the men's bath. Yeah, I don't know why you just assumed. I swear. When I turned around, my consciousness drifted towards the bathhouse Fuji that reached all the way up to the ceiling. I'd heard the bathhouse Fuji, which was found in any old bathhouse nowadays, originated from Kikai Bathhouse. Fuji's healing waters and the steam from the bath mixed together, making me feel like I was partaking in a purification ritual. It was a picturesque view no man could ever grow tired of seeing. When I happened to look over at the group of bathers to my side, they were turned away from that view of Mount Fuji, exchanging hushed whispers. I cocked my right ear to listen in for no reason in particular. Did you see? Did you hear? What? About the giant of Jinbocho. Giant? He's over 6 feet tall. Another one butted in. He doesn't use an umbrella. And he wears a funny mask. As soon as I spotted him, he vanished. He's weird looking. Is he a monster? Or a ghost? I see, how interesting. Maybe it was a silent street performer for a new kabuki show. Or maybe some sort of promotion for a new motion picture. That earthquake earlier must have been from the giant's footsteps. Idiot? No, that had to be. He had a pretty active imagination.
少年よ
Young man.
何
Huh? What?
その話詳しくお聞かせ願いたい
I'd like to hear more of that story. They fell silent. After looking at each other a few times, they snorted. And then they showed me their cheeky, giggling faces.
バカ
Stupid. Huh?
子供の話にマジになってんじゃねえよ
Don't take such immature rumors seriously.
どういうことだ
What do you mean? They instantly cracked up hard enough to shake the bath. When I glanced around, everyone was staring at me with dead looks in their eyes. What? It was like I was the one being made a fool.
おい待て
Hey,
うる
wait!
せえ浪人生
I don't know what that one is. Shut up, Ronin-sei. Is there— Oh, there's an option! Hold up. We can look it up. I've known what a lot of these are, but like I don't know what that one is. A student who failed their university exam, dropout basically, and is currently studying to take it again. Oh look, we can look through all of these. We know what a yokai is, I would hope. Water-filled bamboo tube that clacks on a stone when emptied. Student who attends— oh, okay, Teraise is a student. We know what a shoji is. Cool, it's cool. Not a whole lot of this is, like, really important. A lot of this is just context on the places. Okay, well. How do you— They distance themselves from me in a train-like procession. Seriously, the brats around here didn't know how to behave. If they were innocent children, they would have wanted an adult to listen to them and would gladly have told their story. How dare they make fun of an adult and insult the ambitious title of Ronin, say? Oh, buddy. An annoyed groan escaped from between my clenched teeth. When I came to my senses and looked around, even more cold stares were focused on me. Not good. I sank down up to my nose in the tub and hid myself as I made my way from corner to corner. Good job. Without cooling off from my bath, I headed straight back to Umebachiro and promptly faced my manuscript. I ignored the Frogman manuscript and was going to dive right back into continuing the Phantom in the Basement, but as expected, I couldn't get the rumor I'd heard from those brats in Kikai Bathhouse out of my head. He doesn't use an umbrella, and he wears a funny mask. I figured it was a promotion for a show. But somehow, it was spot on. The Phantom in the Basement normally curled up his large body in the cellar where he lived. Then, night after night, he would come up to the world on the surface and abduct someone on the verge of death. He had no interest in those trying to live. He would suddenly disappear when he'd been seen because he could sense that person's life force. Just what were the Phantom in the Basement's motives? Well, it's a long story, so I'll explain later. Bro, you can explain now. I promise, you can explain now.
思念というものがある。
Haruhiko-san, there are things called ideas.
春彦さん。
The moment I sensed a presence, my hallucination, Haruhiko-san, was sitting beside me. On his shoulder was the Frogman, who had shrunken down because his spiritual powers had been subdued.
何かね。
What?
いえ、ただどうして？
Nothing, just... What's going on?
筆が止まっているのはなぜかと思って出てきた所存だ。
I was wondering why you stopped moving your pen, so I figured I'd come out. My hallucinations were talking to me now. I really must have been tired. Thought about keeping quiet and letting it pass, but he began to thoroughly read my manuscript.
勝手に読まないでください。
Don't just go and read it!
この怪人、確かにさっきの少年たちが話していた怪人とそっくりだな。
This phantom is exactly like the one those young men were talking about.
聞いてたんですか？
You heard them?
思念に姿形はない。思念とは感情と認識だけで形成されている無形の存在だ。
An idea has no physical form. An idea is a formless existence that can only take shape through emotions and awareness.
だから何の話ですか？
So what are you talking about?
ここは何の町だ、玉森くん。
What town is this, Tamamori-kun?
神保町、本の町です。
Jinbocho, a book town.
本とは空想、空想とは無形、空想は思念に通ず。君が地下室の怪人を描いたのは偶然ではない。
Books are fantasy. Fantasies are shapeless. Fantasies are conveyed through ideas. You writing The Phantom in the Basement ain't a coincidence. I forgot he says ain't.
どういうことです？
What do you mean?
怪人という無形の思念が一人歩きしているのだ。
The shapeless idea of a phantom is walking around on its own. Walking around on its own? If that was the case, did I get that idea from somewhere?
つまりは玉森くん、そう深く考える必要はないということだ。
In other words, Tamamori-kun, there's no need for you to think too hard about it. With those last words, Haruhiko-san suddenly disappeared. What was he thinking? Huh, I had no idea. My hallucinations were something born from my subconscious. But up until now, I don't think I had ever had a hallucination leave me with words I couldn't understand. Thinking about it was pointless. After all, I probably understood it subconsciously. For the first time in my life, the idea of having a pen in my hand seemed awful, so I lay on my futon. I stretched out my hand to turn off the light, but I couldn't reach it. All I ended up doing was illuminating my hand. I eventually gave up and shut out the light with my own eyelids. Turn the light off. Get up and turn the light off! It had been raining since morning. I gave my goldfish's food, but he was facing away from it, as usual. Minakami once told me a fish's sense of smell was better than its vision. So eventually, he'd wake up to the smell of his food. Afterwards, I opened the shop and revised my manuscript next to the register like I usually did. For a while, I heard the shopkeeper's breathing as he slept. Once noon rolled around, I finally heard the sound of a futon being folded.
店主、おはようございます。
Good morning, boss.
おはよう玉森くん。朝からご苦労様です。
Good morning, Tamamori-kun. You're working hard this morning. I suppose if a Ronin-sei made scribbling notes and muttered to himself all morning, anyone would think he was studying. He's not. Honestly, if the shopkeeper figured out all my hard work was actually bullshit, I'm sure a lecture would be inevitable. I twirled my pen, feeling a little guilty.
今日も体調が良いので少し散歩してきます。留守をお願いしますよ。
I'm feeling better today, so I'm going to take a stroll. Please watch the shop while I'm gone.
いつもすみません。
Sorry for everything.
客入りが悪いのは私のせいです。
It's my fault we don't get very many customers.
売り上げの心配をしているのかい？
Are you worried about our sales?
すみません。
Sorry. I tried to act as depressed as I could. The shoji opened slightly and out dropped a single
これ
yen.
で美味しいものでも食べて
Use
元気
this
出しなさい。
use this to eat some delicious food and cheer up.
店主、
Boss!
風邪だけはひかないようにね。
Just make sure to not catch a cold.
はい。
The shopkeeper nodded in relief. I heard the back door open and he left. It's not like I wanted money. I was just pretending to be a poor man for the sake of the shopkeeper, who wanted to perform acts of kindness. Okay, sure. This money saved up, I mean, entrusted to me, I could buy a Calspi, manuscript paper, ink, and even go to the bathhouse. It was a happy cycle that didn't hurt anyone.
そこで何してるの？
What are you doing there?
川瀬、来てたのか。驚かすな。
Kawase, you came? Don't startle me.
障子に話しかけるなんて、君もとうとう末期だね。
This brat! You're talking to Shoji now. You've finally gone off the deep end.
店主だ。店主に話しかけていたのだ。
Oh, that was my boss. I was talking to the shopkeeper.
姿を見せない不思議な店主。ね。本当にいるなら会わせてほしいよ。
どういう意味だそれは。
What? How did I accidentally turn on that? Okay, hold up.
どういう意味だそれは。
No. Sorry, gosh. The controls on this are a little confusing. The
本当にい
mysterious
るなら会わせてほしいよ。
mysterious shopkeeper who never shows himself, huh? If he really exists, I'd like to meet him.
どういう意味だそれは。
What's that supposed to mean? Seeming to lose interest, Kawase grabbed the goldfish watering can.
何これ？いい年してブリキのおもちゃって。また変な趣味を見つけたね。
What's this? Tin toys at your age. You found another weird hobby.
お代の代わりにもらったのだ。欲しいならやるぞ。
It was given to me instead of payment. If you want it, take it.
いらないよ。必要ないものはゴミと同じだ。
I don't want it. Unessential items are the same as trash. Yeah, honestly, even I thought it was trash.
だがその金魚じょうろと同じくらい不要な本だったのだ。
It was for a book that's equally as useless as that goldfish watering can.
不要な本。児童書なんてあったっけ？
A useless book. You guys have children's books?
ドグラマグラ、夢の旧作の最新刊だ。
Dogra Magra, Kyusaku Yumeno's newest work.
悪趣味の子供だね。
This kid with some bad taste.
いや、買っていったのは24、5の男だった。
No, a 24 or 25-year-old man bought it.
大人？玉森くん、それ騙されちゃってない？
An adult? Tamamori-kun, did he swindle you?
だから別に構わん。ドグラマグラだって水上が勝手に置いていったものだし。
I don't really care. Dogra Magra was just something Minakami decided to leave here.
じゃあ、ゴミだけ残ったわけか。
So you were just left with some trash. Though, when I got a better look at it, the goldfish watering can did have cute eyes. The pattern looked hand-painted, and it seemed like it would have some kind of warmth to it and start swimming at any moment if you were to touch it. I was starting to feel bad about calling it trash over and over again. That guy in the eye patch head really seemed to treasure it. He had raised this little guy with all his love. When I snatched it back from Kawase, I stuffed it into my pocket with the intention of warming it up.
もう大事にしてる。
Wow, you already treasure it.
勝手だろ。
I can do what I want.
そうだね。人にはいろんな思考があるからね。
Indeed, to each his own after all. Wasn't that sentiment a little too late at this point? Without asking, he snatched the manuscript next to the register and began to slowly walk around the shop. When he finished reading a page, he discarded it like a girl playing He Loves Me Not with flower petals. Dude, you're making a mess! Stop making a mess!
おい。
ああ、失礼。今日も今日で羽のように軽い原稿だ。
Sorry, today's manuscript is as light as a feather, too.
原稿を汚すな。後でみなかみにも読ませるのだぞ。
Don't get it dirty, I was gonna have Minakami read it next.
あいつは文字が書いてあれば何でも喜ぶさ。それこそ結核患者の日記だって喜んで読むだろうね。
That guy enjoys anything as long as it's written. He would even enjoy reading the diary of a tuberculosis patient. Damn it. Kawase discarded one page after another as I crawled after him, picking them up. When I happened to look up, he was staring down at me
こ
coldly.
れってもしかして。
Don't tell me this is unfinished.
書ききれなかったのだ。昨日のうちに。
I couldn't finish writing it yesterday.
また不完全なものを見せようとしたの。
You're showing me something defective again?
勝手に見たのはお前だろう。だから私は今からそれについて説明をしようと。
You're the one who went and looked at it. That's why I was gonna explain it to you.
君の取り柄はバカみたいな執筆の速さだ。どうも信じられないな。
He's so mean! He cannot be a dateable option! Your most redeeming trait is how stupidly fast you can write. I just can't believe it. He let go of the last page, then went past me and headed upstairs.
おい待てってな。
Hey, wait! I crumpled another manuscript page under my hand. I must have looked so pitiful. I gathered up the manuscript pages, brushing the dirt and rain from them as I went, but the frogman was stepping on one of them.
おいどけ。
Hey, get off! The frogman was looking in shock at the staircase Kawase had vanished up. Ugh, what a stubborn and stupid hallucination. I blew a puff of air and he turned to dust and disappeared.
おい川瀬。
Hey, Kawase! When I finally caught up with him upstairs, I was surprised to see he was standing there quietly. My newest manuscript, the story about the used bookstore owner and the frogman, was in his hands. I don't care if you've got cool-looking CGs, I don't like you! Amazingly, Kawase wasn't discarding it. He was speed reading it thoroughly, in his usual way. The silence was so deep that I felt like I could even hear his eyes move. Every once in a while, his mouth would open in astonishment and his breathing would become shallow. I held my own breath as I watched him. No way. There was no way. Had I finally been able to tug at his heartstrings? No, he's playing with you! My throat tightened with a slightly premature hope and sense of accomplishment. Very premature. I desperately swallowed it down and waited for him to speak. Finally, he let out a
これ
sigh.
って俺のことか。
Is this about me?
え
Huh?
俺とあいつのことだろ。
About me and him?
え
Kawase didn't move a muscle as his smile widened. Him. Who? This guy. Who? Well, he hadn't actually said this guy. At any rate, I couldn't figure out why he was smiling.
一体何を読んだんだ？
What exactly did you read?
何って。ここにあった原稿だよ。
What? This manuscript right
カエル
here.
男と古書店店主のお話。
The story about the frogman and the used bookstore owner.
だよ。
Well, yeah. So who did he mean by me and him? I could see his dark nature through his usual smile. Suddenly the ground shook. It was an earthquake, even I could tell this time. But Kawase's gaze didn't move an inch as he continued to look at me and smile.
このカエルは自分が死んでいることを知らないかわいそうなカエルだ。でも無理ないよね。まさか死ぬとは思わない。
Bro, I don't know what you're reading. I have no idea where that came from. This frog is a pitiful frog that doesn't know it's dead. But that's reasonable. There's no way it could have imagined it had died.
橋から突き落とされたとしても下は川だから
Because even if it was pushed off a bridge, there's a river below.
カエルは水生生物だ。元ある世界に投げ出されて死ぬわけない。
Frogs are amphibians. Of course it wouldn't die if it was thrown back into its natural habitat.
私は死んだと思った。
I thought it died. Suddenly my memories flew from my mouth. Oh, Kawase's story. I guess this is him speaking now? Okay, alright. A long time ago in the country, I saw Kawase drop a frog from a bridge. Oh! I understand it's about Kawase. The frog, knocked around by the harsh wind and rain, had fallen quietly, soundlessly into the river and floated away. I thought it had died. I thought he'd killed it. Come to think of it, I had a feeling Kawase had looked at me and smiled that day too.
にゃそういえばそんなこともあったな。
Now that you mention it, something like that did happen, didn't it?
その気持ち悪い笑い方やめろっつっただろ。
Told you to stop with that creepy laugh of yours.
にゃ
This story somehow ended with the frogman becoming the shopkeeper's assistant. Even though it was a story that overflowed with happiness, Kawase carefully and thoroughly ripped it apart and threw it away without reading to the end. I could have said hey, or stop, or wait. There were plenty of things I could have said to stop him, but I just watched. Actually, I felt like this was punishment I deserved. I felt as though it was better that only the manuscript was bearing the brunt of his rage. Even though we were friends, even though we could joke around with each other, there were times that Kawase scared me. In that moment where I was even too afraid to breathe, I realized something.
お前土足じゃないか。
Hey! You've got your shoes on!
君こそ裸足じゃないか。足が汚れるよ。
What about your bare feet? Aren't they dirty?
意味がわからん。いいから布団から足をどけろ。
What does that even mean? Whatever, just get your feet off my futon.
はいはい。
Kawase said as he sat down on the desk beside the window and looked outside. I could tell from his eyes that he was in a bad mood.
なんなんだお前。おかしいぞ。いつもはもっと。
What's with you? You're acting strange. Normally you're more blatantly snide with me, right? Kawase kept his face turned away as he continued speaking, his words
そ
limp.
もそもなんで俺が君の批評を引き受けたかわかるかい？
Do you know why I agreed to critique you in the first place?
わからないか。ただ君そういうところあるから気をつけた方がいい。
You don't know, do you? You just have that side of you, so you should be careful. That side of me?
現実と空想がごっちゃになってる。
You confuse fantasy and reality.
困る人もいるんだよ。
That will upset some people. Did I upset Kawase? What he had just said was pretty serious, so I was starting to feel kind of bad.
なあ、すまない。
Hey, sorry.
許してくれ、カオセ。
Forgive me, Kawase. Kawase's gloomy face was reflected in the dingy window. He called me and pointed to something outside.
みなかみが来たみたいだよ。
Looks like Minakami is here.
みなかみ。
どうしたんだ？血相変えて。
What's wrong? You look pale.
別に何も。それよりほら、この前の続きの原稿だ。
Nothing. Anyway, here's the continuation of that manuscript from before.
おお。
Minakami's face relaxed as he immediately dove into the manuscript. At that point, Kawase came down, and Minakami gave him a troubled look.
久しぶりだな、川瀬。
It's been a while, Kawase.
いや、久しぶり。
Hey, it has been a while. Kawase wasn't giving off that mood from earlier. Somehow, even he seemed to be back to normal. However, their conversation, which felt like it was between two strangers rather than friends, made me uncomfortable for a different reason.
3人揃うのは1ヶ月ぶりだね。
It's been about a month since all three of us have been together.
川瀬も忙しいんだな。
You must be busy too, Kawase.
一番忙しいのはみなかみだろ。
You're the busiest one of us, Minakami.
俺？
Me?
いや、そんなことはないよ。昨日も今日も顔を出したし、週に3回はここに来てるんじゃないか？
No, that's not true. I stopped by here yesterday and today. I come here 3 times a week.
私と川瀬は毎日会っているぞ。
Kawase and I see each other every day.
暇だな。
You guys sure have a lot of free time.
悪かったな。
Sorry. Wasn't like we planned it or anything. But if I happened to go to the cafe, Kawase would already be there. The opposite had happened before, too. Although, that may have meant that we actually did have a lot of free time.
ところで君、聖望は？
By the way, where's your uniform cap?
はあ、
Oh. Minakami suddenly touched his head as if he just realized something was off.
どこかに置いてきたのかな？
I guess I left it somewhere.
またなくしたのか？というか、まだ見つかってないんじゃないのか？
You lost it again. You actually just haven't found it yet, have you?
なくした？毎日被る聖望を？
You lost it? The cap you have to wear every day?
正直言うと、まだ見つかってない。電車の中に忘れて、それっきりだ。
Honestly, I haven't found it yet. I forgot it on the train, so since then...
君も結構抜けてるね。バカになる風邪を玉森くんから移されたんじゃない？
You're pretty careless too. Did you catch Tamamori-kun stupid or something?
そうかもしれない。
Yeah, I may have.
じゃないだろう。否定しろ否定を。
Tamamori's not having it. Don't say yeah, you should deny it. I've mentioned it before, but Minakami was an avid reader. He probably focused on his reading more than anything else. The most amazing thing about him was how, once something captured his attention, he became blind to everything else around him. You could grab him by the shoulder and shake him, but unless his book got closed at some point, he wouldn't stop reading. There were also times he could continue holding a conversation as he read.
この前はおあいやと真正面からぶつかってたな。
There was that time you ran right into the night soil man.
あれは本当に申し訳なかった。
Yeah, that was really unfortunate.
なるほどね。だからそんなにくたびれてるのか。
I see. So that's why your uniform is so beaten up. Compared to Kawase's, Minakami's uniform was slightly faded. There was a difference between high-grade nori and the cheap yellow-tinted nori, but, well, in the end, they tasted the same. Kawase put on his cap and nori-like mantle.
さて、玉森くんのくだらない小説も破り捨てたし、俺はコーヒーでも飲みに行こうかな。
Rude. Now that I've torn up Tamamori's ridiculous story, I guess I'll go have some coffee.
一仕事終えたみたいに言うな。
Say it like you finished your work for the day or something.
コーヒーって例の神田橋にあるカフェか？
Coffee? At that cafe near Kanda Bridge?
俺も玉森くんもずっとあそこのコーヒーにハマっててね。ついでに玉森くんの猫舌を直す練習をしてるんだ。
I understand what he's saying and like what it means, but it doesn't sound right. That's right, Tamamori-kun and I are addicted to the coffee there. Plus, I've been training Tamamori-kun's sensitive tongue. In the Japanese, it's more like, he's saying that he's helping get rid of the cat tongue, which is sensitive, but like, hot things.
また意地悪なことを。
You're picking on him again.
それじゃあね、水上にとことん甘やかされるといいよ。
Well, see ya. You should let Minakami totally spoil you. I will! I will, because I like Minakami. Kawase opened his umbrella and left in a hurry. Why had he even come? Just to rip up my manuscript?
川瀬の批評はどうなったんだ？
How was Kawase's critique?
別に何も、なんてことはない。
It was nothing. No big deal.
そうか。ひどく言われたんだな。
I see. So he said something mean then. Minakami seemed to have figured it out. He'd probably guessed it earlier. I glanced at him hopefully, but he didn't seem to be looking over my
なあ、
manuscript.
玉森。やっぱりこの原稿持ち帰ってもいいか？
He did say he was really busy today, and you were the one that insisted he come, so... Hey, Tamamori, could I take this with me?
ああ、構わないが。
Yeah, I don't mind.
講義の合間に出てきたんだ。
I'll
す
finish
ぐに
it.
戻らないと。
I'll finish it between classes. I need to head back soon.
夜の活動には行けるのか？
You go to the movie tonight?
もちろん。
Of course.
ならいいのだ。
Then it's fine.
それまで俺の代わりになりそうなものを持ってきたんだ。
Feels like I'm taking something as collateral. He handed me 5 reference books.
おい。
Hey.
そう不機嫌な顔をするな。これは英文小説だから意味がわかれば楽しめると思うぞ。
Don't make such a sour face. These books are in English, but I think you'll enjoy them if you can understand them.
そうでもなさそうだな。
Maybe not.
うるさい。急いでるならさっさと行け。
Shut up! If you're in such a hurry, then hurry and leave.
ごめん、そうするよ。
Sorry, I will. Minakami smiled again and left. He was normally calm and easygoing, but today he seemed pretty busy. Of course, that was dangerous, since he was prone to ignoring his surroundings. Come to think of it, something like that had happened a long time ago. He'd been walking aimlessly on his way back from home from school while reading one of my manuscripts, so I was escorting him. Kawase had looked at us coldly and asked, "What are you guys doing?" But if I hadn't been there, Minakami could have been attacked by a wild boar or fallen into her ice patty. Anyway, whenever Minakami was focused on something with all his heart, bad things happened. So you're just gonna let him take it? Yeah, I immediately went after him. That's probably a good idea.
みなかみ。
どうした？
What's wrong? Minakami raised his voice a little, even though he was worried about people staring.
停滞に戻るんだろ。
You're going back to the Imperial University, right?
ああ。
Yeah.
水道橋まで送る。
I'll go with you up to Sweet Bridge.
いいよ。店を開けっぱなしで出たらさすがに怒られるぞ。
I'm fine. You'll get in trouble if you leave while the shop is open.
店主は出かけている。どうせ客も来ない。
The shopkeeper's out right now, and anyway, no customers are gonna come.
でも万が一。
But just in case... I closed the shop doors. Minakami turned towards me, amazed. Then he slowly approached me.
客が来ないなら来ないなりに勉強でも。
Customers don't come, use that time to study, or...
新しい物語の構想が昨日浮かんだのだ。
He totally does have an umbrella. Why did he not use his umbrella when he went to the bathhouse last night? Whatever. I came up with a new idea for a story yesterday. There was a long silence. I knew the words Minakami was weak to. I ended up accompanying Minakami and walking down Hakusan Street.
で、そのカエル男は言うのだ。恨み晴らさでおくべきか。
So then the frogman says, "Have I rid myself of my grudge?"
自我を取り戻すのだな。
He regains himself then.
そう、カエル男は人間であったことを思い出し、自分を殺した男に復讐するのだ。そしてその後、カエル男は天使の助手となり。
That's right, the frogman remembers he was human, and then he gets his revenge on the man who killed him. Afterwards, the frogman becomes the shopkeeper's assistant.
それで？
And then,
この物語は終わる。
the story ends.
そうか。なかなか怪奇な話だった。砕けた金平糖で口を切り、甘みの中にじわりと鉄の苦さを感じるような。
I see. What a bizarre story. It's like cutting your mouth on a broken piece of competo. There's a metallic bitter taste mixed with the sweetness. Mm-hmm. It was an everyday thing, but I could never really understand Minakami's critiques. Perhaps because he was the son of a brewer. He had a sensitive tongue, and he often compared my stories to flavors and cooking. They were always impressions I didn't quite understand. But I could at least tell that he liked me.
お前は黙って聞いてくれるのだな。
You just keep quiet and listen, don't you?
黙って聞かずにはいられないよ。お前の話はいつも面白い。
Have to keep quiet and listen. Your stories are always interesting.
だが、川瀬はその原稿を破り捨てたぞ。
But Kawase ripped up that manuscript and threw it away.
え？
Minakami turned around when I stopped. We had reached Suido Bridge before I knew it.
ありえない。あいつなんてことを。
No way, how could he?
いいのだ。どうせ猫も好かん。
It's fine, not even a cat would eat it.
犬も好かんだろ。
Don't you mean not even a dog would eat it?
どっちだっていいだろう。雑食は雑食だ。
Either way, an omnivore is an omnivore.
それもそうだな。だが 畜生も好かないものを吸いてる俺は一体何なんだろうな。
I guess that's true, but if even the lowliest creatures wouldn't like it, what does that say about me?
よっぽどの変人だ。
That you're a total weirdo. Minakami was a nice guy. I always thought Kawase and I were total opposites, but even Minakami and I were completely different people. If Kawase and I were duking it out in the Asura domain, then Minakami was looking down on us from the Deva domain. Minakami laughed as he left. With no intention of saying anything else, I also turned around. But why? Why did my heart race with every step I took away from him? They're not going to kill a character off, are they? We're only 2 hours in. I immediately turned back around. Sweet old Bridge was there, as usual. But Minakami had already disappeared into the crowd. From there, I rode the streetcar. Even if I went back to the shop, the only customer would be that guy with the eye patch. I didn't even notice the rain. I figured that lie wouldn't work. But there were plenty of excuses I could make so the shopkeeper would forgive me. I went way past Jinbocho and Umebachido and got off at Konda Bridge. I saw Kawase's head through the window. I came in and sat across from him without waiting for a server. Kawase's face twitched as he closed his book. What are you doing here? What about the shop?
お昼休みだ。それより何を読んでいたんだ？
This is my lunch break. Anyway, what are you reading?
知り合いの知り合いから借りた小説だよ。
A novel I borrowed from an acquaintance of an acquaintance. Kawase tossed it at me, annoyed. He wasn't treating it like something he'd borrowed.
あ、ウォーマンイン？
あ、ウーマン・イン・グエイ。幽霊島の原作。といえば君にもわかりやすいかな。
A Woman in Grey. It's Yureito in its original language. Even you should know what I'm talking about if I put it that way, right?
それなら私も読んだぞ。
In that case, I've read it too. I looked through it again, but I couldn't understand the English writing at all.
ほんとバカだね、君。ページをめくるのは左からでしょ。
You really are an idiot. You're reading in the wrong direction.
え？あ、わかってる。ただぼーっとしていただけだ。
I knew that. I was just zoning out.
君に勉強を教えるのは浅い皿に水を注ぐようなものだね。
Teaching you anything is like pouring water into a shallow dish.
意味がわからん。
I don't know what that means.
今まさに水がこぼれたよ。
And the water keeps overflowing.
わからん。というか、私はこんなくだらないことを問答しに来たのではない。
I don't get it. Besides, I didn't come here to discuss something so stupid. I put the book on the tabletop and pushed it towards Kawase.
田上のことだ。最近のあいつ、おかしいと思わないか？
It's about Minakami. Don't you think he's been acting strange lately?
おかしい。
Strange, huh?
今日もそうだ。さっき来て、さっき帰った。
Day 2, he just came and left.
大方講義でもあるんでしょ。構ってくれないからってすねるなよ。
He has a lot of classes. Don't pout just because he didn't pay enough attention to you.
すねてなどいない。講義があるとは確かに言っていたが、いつものあいつなら講義をすっぽかしてまで私の原稿を読むはずなのに。
I'm not pouting. He did say he had classes, but normally he ditches them to read my manuscripts.
あいつ。
What is he thinking?
だから言い知れぬ違和感を感じるのだ。
That's why something feels so off.
君の方がおかしいっていう考えはないの？
Don't you think you might be the one who's acting strange?
なんだと？
What was that?
って君をバカにしたいところだけど、あいつがおかしいのはずっと前からだよ。
I was just teasing you, but he's always been strange.
久しぶりなんて嘘だ。俺は帝大で何度も水上を見かけてるよ。
That whole "it's been a while" thing was a lie. I've seen Minakami around the university several times. He must have seen me too.
なのに久しぶり。
And he still said that it had been a while?
あいつ
He's been
俺
avoiding
を避
me.
けてるんだ。
Well, maybe if you weren't such a jerkwad, nobody would avoid you, Kawase. Kawase lit a fresh match. Cigarette smoke gently drifted about. I brushed it away with my hand as I questioned Kawase.
避けるお前を
Avoiding? You?
この前閲覧室で奴を見つけたんだ。けど俺が本を選んで戻ってくるまでの間に奴はいなくなっていた。
Right before this, I saw him in the reading room, but when I came back from picking out a book, he was gone.
どういうことだ
What do you mean?
俺に話しかけられると思って逃げたんでしょ。
Don't be a butt! Yeah, basically. He thought I would come to talk to him, and ran away. The more I heard, the less I understood. It wasn't in Minakami's personality to dislike anyone. No matter how much of a brute Kawase was, I didn't think Minakami would do something so blatant.
さっき問い詰めてやればよかったな
You should have asked him about it earlier.
そんな野暮なことするわけないでしょ。だからここまで引いてやったのに。
There's no way I would do something so crude. That's why I left and came all the way here. Kawase let out a smoke-filled sigh. Couldn't believe he'd actually had a conversation with Minakami with that on his mind.
だがなお前はいつからそう思っていたんだ
But, how long have you felt that way?
帝大に受かってからかな。
Ever since we got into the Imperial University, I guess.
1年も前からか
For over a year? He was a familiar face from the same village. They'd even spent time together naked, and he still avoided Kawase? Tamamori. Phrasing. 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 I pulled the ticket out from my pocket and scooted it towards Kawase.
狂える悪魔。再上映するのか。
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? They're running it again? Good for you.
夜東洋記念まで水上と待ち合わせしているお前も来い
I'm meeting Minakami tonight at Toyo Cinema. You come too.
俺は遠慮するよ。怪奇映画なんて興味ない。
I'll pass. I have no interest in horror films.
幽霊と読んでいるくせに何を言う
What are you talking about? You're reading Yurei To.
だから知り合いの知り合いに押し付けられただけだ。ちょうど今読み終わったところだけど。あんまり好みじゃないね。
I told you, an acquaintance of an acquaintance just pushed it on me. I just finished reading it. It wasn't my cup of tea.
貴様ルイコの良さもわからんのか
You bastard! Don't you understand Ruiko's greatness?
俺が読んだのは原作。アリス・マリエル・ウィリアムソンの方だ。ルイコの本は読む気もしない。
The one I'm reading is the original by Alice Muriel Williamson. I don't plan on reading Ruiko's.
んちょっと待て幽霊島の原作はファントムタワージョはベンディスンのはずだ
Huh? Wait a second. The original version of Yurei To is called The Phantom Tower by Bendison.
ルイコは嘘をついたんだろう。
Ruiko probably lied.
嘘
Lied?
幽霊島は連載ものだから完結した原作によってネタバレされないように配慮したんだろう。
Yurei To was a serialized story, so that was most likely his way of making sure people weren't spoiled by the original version, which had already been completed.
そうだとしてもだなぜ完結した今も原作者を公にしないのだろう
That could be, but if it's completed now, why wouldn't he publicize who the original author is?
さあ、この功績を自分のものだけにしたいんじゃないか。
Who knows? Maybe he just wanted the credit for it.
ゲスな勘繰りだな
What a crass theory.
君だったらそうしそうだと思う。
I think you would do the same if it were you.
失礼ないやしかしお前の知り合いの知り合いってやつはなかなか知見のある男なのだな
Rude. Anyway, that acquaintance of your acquaintance must be a pretty smart guy.
巷で幽霊島の原作はどこにあるかと騒がれている中で正解を見つけるとは
He heard the original version of Yurei To was out there somewhere and was so determined he found the truth.
けど本当のところはどうなんだろうね。俺はルイコの方を読んでいないから照合できない。
I don't know how true it is, though. I've never read Ruiko's, so I can't compare them.
なら私と照合すればいい
Then you should compare it with me.
じゃあどこから答え合わせをしようか。
Alright, where should we begin our comparison?
舞台はイギリス。
It's set in England.
イギリス。
主人公は丸部同九郎。
The protagonist is Dokuro Marube.
テレンス・ダークムア。
Similar?
そう、もうこの時点で違う。
Damn, it's already different.
はあ、日本人向けに主人公の名前変え
I
る
was
なん
gonna say,
てよくあることでしょ。
it's common to change the main characters' names to appeal to Japanese readers, isn't it?
そうか。じゃあ、怪美人として登場した女の名前は？
Oh, right. Then what's the name of the beautiful, mysterious woman who appears?
ホープ。って名前を比べても無意味だって言ってるだろう。
It's Hope. I just said it's pointless to compare names.
怪しい医者の名前は？
And the suspicious doctor?
ポール・レベル。
Come on.
お、そこは一緒なんだな。
Oh, that's the same.
そんなことより物語の顛末を照合した方が手っ取り早い。
Forget about that. It'd be faster to compare the details.
怪美人の正体は松谷秀子でも和田お夏でもなく丸部春子で。
Yeah, the mysterious woman's true identity isn't Edoko Matsuda or Onatsumada, but Haruko Marube. Why are you making me sight read all of these names?
ダークムアのいとこだった。
Darkmoor's cousin. Oh, the beautiful mysterious woman's true identity, which was always in question, seemed to be the same. Definitely. But most importantly, there were the main characters Darkmoor and Dokuro. Even the pronunciation was similar. Yeah. They do that on purpose.
ああ、そうか。
Oh, I see.
ルイコがこれを公にしなかったのは利権や功績も関係なしにこの物語を自分だけのものにしたかったからなのかもしれない。
The reason Ruiko didn't make it public had nothing to do with the rights to it or taking credit. He probably just wanted to make the story his own. If I could get away with the same thing because it was a translation, I would definitely do it too. If I had been the first person to read A Woman in Grey, I would have made sure no one ever found out about the original story. You're not helping yourself. If they were concerned about the rights or credit, they wouldn't attach the name of the original author in the first place, even if it was fake. The truly stingy, worst kind of writers were those who plagiarized and never mentioned the original author's name at all. You literally just said you would do that. Tamamori, come on.
私はますます素直でけなげなルイコが好きだ。
That just makes me love Ruiko's honesty and purity even more. Bro, they weren't honest.
何が素直でどこがけなげなの？だいたい世に出してる時点でもう自分のものではないでしょ。
I agree with Kawase for once. How is he honest or pure? Besides, it already wasn't his the moment he published it. Kawase took a long drag off his cigarette. Once it had burned all the way to his mouth, he puffed out a huge gust of smoke.
で、ルイコがどうとか今はどうでもいいのだ。今日の夜、3人で活動写真に行こう。さすれば、あいつのぎこちなさも。
Anyway, Ruiko or whatever isn't important right now. The three of us should go to the movies tonight. When we do, we can ask Minakami about...
何を笑う？
What are you laughing about? It was an awfully chilling smile. At any rate, I could tell he wasn't interested. I put the ticket away, but he smiled even wider.
だから何なのだ？
What is it?
みなかみは君のことが好きなんだよ。
Minakami likes you.
はあ？
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. That's very pretty obvious. Huh?
だから俺と君が一緒にいるのは思わしくないんじゃないかな。
I'm guessing that's why he gets annoyed whenever you and I are together.
意味がわからん。
I don't understand.
物好きだね。
He's got some weird tastes. Bro! Homie, come on. Kawase was giving me the
自
creeps.
分が避けられる理由を真面目に考えろ、カーセ。
Think hard about why he would be avoiding you, Kawase.
真面目に考えてこの結果だよ。みなかみは俺に嫉妬してる。残念な男だってね。
I did think hard about it, and that was the answer I came up with. Minakami is jealous of me, the poor sap.
それは結果ではなく悪口だ。だが、
That's not an answer, that's bad-mouthing, but it would be funny if I turned the joke around on him.
お前だって人のこと言えるのか？
Are you the one to talk? I said, motioning past Kawase with my chin. In front of the counter were 3 waitresses, huddled together and squealing. Of course, that waitress with the handkerchief was in the middle. To be honest, they were all cute. Adorable, even. Anyone would be crazy to be adored by those young ladies and not make a move on them.
あんな小娘、興味ないね。
I have no interest in someone like her.
下心は少しもないのか？
What about deep down inside? Not even a little?
しょんべん臭いでは嫌いだ。
Kawase! I hate the smell of piss on her hands. How can I put it? Kawase was over the top. The remarks he spat out were always sarcastic. I wasn't the only one who felt that way either. At the care, he would wipe his spoon with a napkin over and over again. But the worst was when he'd ask who had prepared his food. Honestly, it made me want to scare the hell out of Kawase, at least once.
私は便所の後手を洗わない。
Amamori, I don't wash my hands after I use the restroom.
鼻もほじるし、頭がかゆければボリボリと素手でかく。お前はそんな原稿に触れてきたのだ。
Kamamori, maybe chill out a little. I picked my nose and scratched my head with my bare hands, and you've touched my manuscripts. I eagerly went to touch Kawase's hand. When I did, he suddenly grabbed me and brought his lips close to the back of my hand.
君は特別だ。
It only took us 2.5 hours to get here. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, amazing. I don't... You're special.
とでも言うと思った。
Oh, okay, he's playing with it. He's playing. Or so you thought I would say? Right when I thought he was going to touch his lips to my hand, he made a sound in his throat and spat on it. Ah! Ah! My model is going crazy because I'm going crazy. You bastard!
君の原稿を読んだ後もちゃんと手は洗ってるよ。ふやけるまでね。
This butthead! This butthead. I make sure to wash my hands after I read your manuscripts, until they're raw.
潔癖症もそこまで来ると人間不信だな。
When your germophobia is that bad, it's just misanthropy.
君みたいな不潔な人間がいるから嫌でもこうなるんだ。
Me too, Artemis. I thought we had something here, and then he turned it right back around. I don't know what I expected. A little butthead. It's because it's become this bad because there are people as filthy as you.
信じられるのは自分だけ。あ?
So the only person you can trust is yourself, huh?
それは語弊がある。
That's the wrong expression.
その通りだろ。どうせお前が触れられるのは花沢くらいか?
But it's true. Isn't Hanazawa the only one you can touch?
花沢って。あ
あ。
どうしたのいきなり。アホみたいな声出して。
What was that for? You just made a really stupid noise. Something had suddenly occurred to me. But before I get to that, I think I'll introduce you to him. There was one more friend we all had in common, Hanazawa. He was 3 years older than us, so he would silently guide our unruly and rambunctious group. If Hanazawa said something, even that animal Kawase would obediently listen. And now Kawase would lower his eyes if he heard Hanazawa's name. Hanazawa, who was the first of us to graduate from middle school, left Aizu as a boy to enroll in a military academy. We hadn't seen or heard from him in 8 years.
もしかしたら水上のやつ、昨日花沢に会ってたのかもしれない。
Maybe Minakami met up with Hanazawa yesterday.
旧友に会いに行くと言っていた。
He said he was going to meet an old friend.
いや、それはないよ。
No, that can't be it.
きっとそうだ。私たち以外の旧友なんて花沢しかないだろう。
It has to be. Hanazawa's the only other old friend he has. Oh, sorry, the only old friend he has other than us.
嘘でもついたのか。
He could have been lying. Lying? For some reason, Kawase's smile suddenly widened.
例えば女に会うとか。その女は本当にただの知人で。
I'm
させたくないか。
gonna smack Kawase, I swear. Maybe he met up with a woman. He probably didn't want you to be jealous of her since she really is just an acquaintance.
だからさっきから嫉妬とか女とか何なのだ。私は水上にそういう意味で好かれているとは思っていない。
Why are you going on about jealousy and women? I don't think Minakami likes me that way. And I also didn't think Minakami had met some woman. Kawase's smile got even wider.
鈍感にも程があるだろ君。それともただ
He's so mean! He's so mean! Just how dim are you? Or do you just not want to admit it? Is that it?
何？
Huh?
だってよく考えてみなよ。いくら病的な愛書家だってつまらない話を手放して喜べるわけないだろう。美食家が美食しか食わないようにね。
Think about it. No matter how crazy someone is about books, there's no way they could actually enjoy a story if it's boring. A gourmet will only eat gourmet food, right?
何が言いたいのだ。私はバカだからさっぱりわからん。
What are you trying to say? I must be an idiot because I'm not getting it.
だからさっきも言ったけど、水上は君が好きなんだよ。君がクソみたいな小説を書こうと適当に喜べば、君の機嫌を取れると思っている。
I already said it earlier. Minakami likes you. He probably thinks he can make you happy by going along with it and enjoying your shit stories. Rude! 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 That's so rude!
意味がわからん。
I don't know what you mean.
愚鈍だね。奴が君を褒めるのはおべっかだと言いたいんだ。
You're such a moron. I'm saying that his praise is just flattery. So what?
おべっか？
Flattery?
水上は君を喜ばせるために君の原稿を楽しむふりをしていたという。
I'm gonna fight him! I'm gonna fight him! I'm gonna fight him! In other words, Minakami is pretending to enjoy your manuscripts to make you happy.
だが待て、なら水上は私のどこに惹かれたと言うんだ。
But wait, if that's the case, are you saying there's something about me that Minakami finds attractive? That's what you're focused on? You're not focused on the fact that Kawase is sitting here, like, roasting you? Yeah, okay, apparently Kawase is confused too.
私の魅力は奇想天外な空想力でできていると思っている。しかしその魅力を否定するなら、水上は一体私のどこに惹かれたというのだ？
I guess girl boss where you can, Tamamori. I believe my charm lies in the ability to come up with over-the-top fantasies. But if you're saying that I don't have that charm, then what exactly are you saying Minakami finds so attractive about me?
それは。
Well...
そうだね。いいところなんて一つも何もないのに。
Point taken, there's not a single good thing about you. Kawase's serious face looked unusually perplexed. When I realized he was making that expression because he was trying so hard to figure out what Minakami found so great about me, I felt like Kawase was looking at the face of a worthless idiot. Still, I never thought the first argument I'd ever win against Kawase would be over something like this. No matter how long I waited for his comeback, it didn't seem to be on its way. This guy! Seriously! I honestly wished he would object, but I wouldn't have been able to stand that either.
ともかくいい加減にしろ、カーテ。お前だって認めたくないだけだろ。
Anyway, enough of that, Kawase. You just don't want to admit it.
ちょっと黙っててよ。 必死に探してるんだから。
Shut up for a second! I'm desperately searching for something right now. For something good about you.
水上がこっそり花沢と会っていることに嫉妬して、お前は事実無根を述べている。
You're bringing up something totally groundless just because you're jealous that Minakami secretly went to see Hanazawa.
なんだって。
What was that?
お前は水上に嫉妬している。
You're jealous of Minakami.
違う。撤回しろ。
You're wrong. Take that back.
めめしいな、お前も。
You can be petty too, huh?
いい加減黙れよ、君。
Just shut up already. Boy, did we both have mud on our faces. When we realized neither of us had a leg left to stand on, we both fell silent. Then we looked up out the window and sighed.
暇だな。
We must really be bored. Yeah.
こうも苛立つのは低気圧のせいだ。
Our bad moods must be from this crappy weather.
いつまで続くんだろうね。
Wonder how long this rain will last. Afterwards, Kawase left the cafe to go to his lectures at the Imperial University, and I was left to pass the time on my own. Whenever I was left alone like this, I would usually recall Kawase's annoying face and brood. But for once, the one on my mind was Minakami. Just who was the old friend he met up with yesterday? This was Minakami, so I didn't think he would have plans to see a woman. He couldn't even look Madame Oizumi directly in the eye. There was just no way. Therefore, the most probable person was Hanazawa. It could only be him. But if Minakami really had been going to meet up with him, why hadn't he told me anything about it? How cold. It made me sort of uncomfortable. The waitress suddenly brought out my omelet rice.
遅いぞ。
That took a while.
すみません。忘れてました。
Gosh, the waitress, I hate her. Sorry, I forgot. Compared to how she was with Kawase, her attitude towards me was totally different. I stuffed my mouth with omelet rice as I stared out the window.
なんだ、まだいたのか。
What, you're still here?
あなたと帝大生さんって一体どんな関係なんですか？
What kind of relationship do you and that Teiraise-san have? I immediately knew what her intentions were.
友人だ。
We're friends.
じゃあどこにお住みか知ってます？
And do you know where he lives?
知ってどうする？
What if I do?
カルスピお付けします。
I'll throw in a cowspea? She set the cowspea in her hand down with a clunk. Huh.
本郷三丁目に大きめの洋館があ
I
る。
told her!
わからなければ近所のやつに池田邸はどこですかと問えば。
Neither one of you are a good friend. There's a huge Western-style house in Hongo's 3rd district. If you don't know it, ask around the neighborhood about where the Ikeda Manor is, and somebody will be able to tell you right away.
そこにお住まいで？
He lives there?
家族の邸宅だ。知らぬ者はおらんだろうな。
It's a nobleman's mansion. Everyone around here knows about it.
そうなんですか。家族の家なんて憧れる。女
Is
性
that-
さんとか、
Oh my
執
gosh.
事とか、
Is
さぞ
that
かしたくさん
so?
雇ってるんだろうな。
A nobleman's mansion? I'm jealous. There must be plenty of maids and butlers working there.
いや、一人だ。
Nope, he's alone.
家族の大きい邸宅にたったお一人？
All alone in a nobleman's giant mansion?
ああ、わけあって今は一人で。
Yeah, for some reason he's alone right now. Wait. What was I going on about? I emptied my glass in one gulp and gave it back to the waitress, then shooed her away with the back of my hand.
割に合わなくないですか？もっと詳しく聞かせてくださいよ。
Hey, you're not being fair. Tell me more.
無理に行って奴に見つかるようなことはするなよ。私から言えるのはそれだけだ。
If you must go, make sure he doesn't see you. That's all I can say.
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
Got it. Thank you. The waitress said, leaving in a huff. She was definitely going to go to Kawase's house. I didn't know what she would do when she got there, but it would be pretty funny if she ended up bothering him somehow. You're not a good friend, Tamamori! Still, what exactly did that waitress see in Kawase? Yeah, I don't know either. There was what had happened yesterday, and now she wanted to get even closer to him. What a freak. Hiko-san and the frogman suddenly appeared in front of me. Don't talk to them, you're out in public. Don't talk to them, you're out in public. Sir, don't talk to them, you're out in public.
ずいぶん長い昼休憩だな。
You're taking an awfully long lunch break.
春彦さんとカエル男。
And frogman,
君はあの女給を気にしているようだな。
you seem to be curious about that waitress.
別に特別な気持ちはありません。確かに可愛い子だとは思っていましたが、ちょっと違和感を感じるというか。
I don't feel one way or another about her. I definitely think she's cute, but I feel like there's something a little bit off about her.
違和感。
Off. Yeah, a little off. I looked at the waitress's
あ
back.
れ、カツラですよね。
That's a wig, isn't it?
カエル男、見てきなさい。
Frogman, go take a look. Yes, yes, sir. The frogman waddled closer to the waitress, and when he was right behind her, his eyes got even wider. Haruhiko-san and I both lowered our glasses, looking through the lenses, and confirmed what the frogman saw.
昨日カセに掴まれたのを見ておかしいと思ったんです。
I thought there was something strange when I saw Kawase grab it yesterday.
玉森くん、確かに彼女は2つの髪質を持っているようだ。
Her hair definitely seems to have two textures. She must have her reasons. Such a toxic friendship. They're really toxic. These two, I don't know. I don't know about these two. The frogman returned at that moment, and Haruhiko-san and I both fixed our glasses.
不思議だ。
Mysterious!
髪は女の命という。美しく保つふりをするのも大変だな。
They say a woman's hair is her life. Even pretending to maintain beautiful locks must be a lot of work.
やはりそういうことですか。
So it's because of him. Love came from a woman's gallant efforts. Kawase telling her to cut it was just sad. The waitress suddenly turned around. I thought long hair was cuter than short. When I confirmed that with my stare, the waitress frowned and went back to the kitchen. As soon as I was done with my omelet rice, I wouldn't have any more business here.
幸せそうですね、玉森さん。
You seem happy, Tamamori-san.
ああ、3時間待った甲斐がある。
Yeah, it was worth the 3-hour wait.
君というやつは。
You really are something else. Let's go back to the shop. You wait 3 hours for your omelet rice? Come on. It was raining and the streetcar was packed. That was probably because it would have been a huge pain to walk around in this humidity. For me, using the streetcar to go 2.5 miles had nothing to do with whether it was rainy or cloudy. When I happened to look outside, I saw 3 umbrellas spinning as they ran by. I recognized those guys.
お風呂屋で見た子たちですね。
You saw them at the bathhouse! The moment I prayed they wouldn't get on, they noisily jumped onto the streetcar. I figured I'd move to the back to make room for the brats, but...
昨日の浪人生じゃねえか。
Oh, if it isn't the Ronin insane from yesterday. Ugh.
ヒューヒュー。なんだその冷やかしは。意味がわからん。
What kind of taunt is that? I don't get it.
もっと奥詰めろよ。俺たちが乗れねえだろ。
Move back more, we can't get on.
そうだそうだ。
That's what I was trying to do!
な、貴様ら。ここは公共の場だ。見よ、この冷ややかな視線に気づかぬか。
Hey, you brats, you're in public. Look around, don't you notice all this cold stares? I said that, but when I glanced around, everyone was looking out the window and pretending not to notice us. They weren't completely indifferent, though. In the glass of the window, my eyes met those of an unfamiliar man. If you feel the same, say something.
いいから静かにしていろよ。
Fine, just be quiet. I stepped further back, and was instantly jostled around by the crowd and dropped my umbrella. I tried to pick it up, but I was so squished I couldn't move. That's when a pale hand picked it up.
これどうぞ。
Here you go.
Oh,
Thanks.
おい、何拾ってんだよ。
Why did you pick it up?
ついごめん。
I just... sorry.
お前はほんと優しいな。
You really are too nice.
なんだかお兄さんがかわいそうで。
I felt kind of bad for him.
かわいそうなわけあるか。こいつは痛いけな少年に突然話
Oh
しか
my
ける不審者なんだぞ。
gosh. There's no reason to feel bad. He's a shady guy who talks to young, innocent men out of the blue. What? That's how they saw me?
そうだ。昨日も言ったが、こいつも監視対象だってことを忘れるな。
What? That's right, I told you yesterday too, but don't forget that this guy is also a surveillance target.
でも昨日話しかけてきたのは 僕たち不正規連隊の仲間になりたかった。
What are these kids on about? But what if the reason he talked to us yesterday was because he wanted to join the Irregulars Regiment? Naming a simple group of delinquents Irregulars Regiment was pretty over the top. I was an adult. I had no intention of hanging out with those who were less mature. Tamamori, I don't know if you've got a leg to stand on there. Only able to move one hand, I pat the somewhat well-behaved one's head, then hid myself further in the crowd. I was unbelievably thankful the next stop was Jinbocho. I didn't want to be in that cramped car any longer than necessary. As the streetcar passed me by, the twerps pressed against the window and made weird faces, but I no longer paid them any mind. As long as I didn't ride the streetcar around this time of day, I wouldn't run into them. As long as I didn't go to the bathroom house around the same time as before, I'd be able to avoid them. But why were they making fun of me? The waitress at the cafe seemed to be too. In the beginning, she'd been even more condescending. There were times where she wouldn't bring me a spoon no matter how many times I asked. That wasn't the only time I'd been viewed as an idiot. Sorry. Sorry, buddy, that everyone knows you failed your exams and are, I don't know, not doing much with your life, but like, I support you, I guess. I'll never forget it, 2 years ago. We met an elderly man on the train heading to the capital. He had been somewhere between 75 and 80. He was the master of Ikeda Manor, and he would eventually take in Kawase as an adopted son. Ikeda, that mysterious old man who didn't know how much longer he had left, had grown quite fond of us young men making our way to the capital to become the future of the nation, and told us that we could rent a room at his mansion. Thank you for your kind offer, but we're already being taken care of by a person named Oizumi, says Minakawa. Or Minakami. Don't bore him with all that, Minakami. Yeah, he's offering us to do us a favor. We might as well not waste it. Minakami had sighed and said, please take care of these two, as he bowed his head. When he told us he wanted to adopt us, the conversation gradually snowballed. At his sudden proposal, the grandparents I'd left behind the countryside crossed my mind, so I of course hesitated. But Kawase had accepted immediately. He had no one who came to mind back in the country. Right when this joke we shared as we traveled started to have a tinge of truth to it, something happened that destroyed all my hopes. Someone had stolen my luggage. A young man with his hat worn low had run off with my bag, which I'd left in the aisle. With monkey-like reflexes, or maybe he really was a monkey, the thief had escaped my grasp. Hey, you! Before he could even reach the second car, he was jostled around by the crowd and started to slow down. I figured that now I'd be able to catch him, but he passed it along to the next thief. Honestly, I was also slowing down from exhaustion, but even when I yelled out, "Thief!" it was drowned out by the sounds of the crowd and the train as I was pushed farther back. When he tried to disappear into the third rail car, Minakami shouted as loud as he could, "A bag with 300 yen in it was stolen. Whoever gets it back will get half." What a huge lie. Well, look! Just like Minakami said, the look in everyone's eyes had changed. With the power of maturity, my bag was instantly taken back from the thief and was suddenly being passed above the heads to the crowd. The moment it was finally back in my hands, the buckle on my bag snapped. What fluttered down inside the train car were my manuscripts, and more manuscripts. Some greedy miser must have tried to wrench my bag open by force. One page was swept away by the wind, and one fell into some far-sighted old lady's hand. Some landed on the heads of innocent bystanders, and one fell by my feet. Actually, it fell by Kawase's and Ikeda's son's feet as they came up to me and Minakami. Tamamori-kun, what's the meaning of this? Weren't you going to the capital to study to be a doctor? Of course! They say you know what goes on in the person's head by the contents of their bag, but what's all this? You should learn from Kawase-kun. I don't really want to remember what happened after that. I'd gotten drunk and ended up between two of the rail cars, sobbing on and on. Minakami was the only one who had me go back to my seat with a worried look on his face. Anyway, I'd fooled Ikeda-san at first, and even the shopkeeper at Umebachibdo. Even if I had used some underhanded techniques. Gosh, why can I not read suddenly? Why were children the only ones who didn't fall for it? That was probably why I would never like children for as long as I lived. When the sun had completely set and I got back to Umebachiro, a man was there twirling his umbrella. He seemed bored. He stopped, startled, when he saw me making my way back.
Konbanwa.
Good evening.
こんばんは。
Good evening.
お店今日はお休みなんですか？
Is the shop closed today?
今開けます。
I'm opening it now, I said as I put my hands on the doors.
鍵とか
It wasn't
ないんで
locked.
すね。
何か？
What about it?
いえ、なんでもありません。
Nothing at all. He was kind of a gloomy guy. I told him to come in, but he just fidgeted, showing no signs of entering.
今日は
I
本を買いに来たんじゃないです。
didn't come to buy books today.
え？金魚じょうろ返してほしいなら返します。
If you want me to return your goldfish watering can, I'll give it back.
いえいえ、
No, it must have been something that was pretty important to him. It's not like I wouldn't return it if he told me to. But he waved his hands and shook his head as if to tell me not to worry about it.
もらってください。それは君への贈り物みたいなものですから。
This guy, okay, I know I said he was kind of baby earlier, but like, he kind of gives me the creeps because has he been watching long enough to know that Tamamori has a goldfish thing? Like, that he buys goldfishes? Please, keep it. It was something like a gift for you.
はあ？お名前は？
What was your name?
僕、氷川と申します。
My name is Hikawa.
すみません。失礼ですが、あなたと以前会いましたっけ？
Sorry, this may be rude, but have we met before?
いかんせん、興味のないことはすぐ忘れてしまうもので。
Unfortunately, if something doesn't interest me, I tend to forget it immediately.
いえ、僕が君に出会ったのは1ヶ月前が初めてです。
No, I met you for the first time a month ago. That was when I began working at Umebachiro. So, of course, the name Hikawa wouldn't sound familiar to me. I knew it. He was the weird one.
とある本を探していて、この梅鉢堂なら題名だけで本を探せると噂に聞き、やってきたのが始まりでした。
I was looking for a certain book and heard a rumor that I would be able to find any book here at Umebachiro if I just knew the title. That's when I started coming.
長くなりそうですか？
This sounds like it's gonna be long.
ごめんなさい。
Sorry. He eventually closed his umbrella and came inside.
実は僕、君の原稿を読んだのは昨日が初めてじゃないんです。
He's kinda creeping me out! Actually, yesterday wasn't the first time I've read your manuscripts.
初めてこの店に来た時も、君は床に突っ伏して原稿を書いていました。それを勝手に読んでしまったんです。
He just comes in and sneaks up on Tamamori? What? Even the first time I came to this shop, you were lying on the floor writing a manuscript and I ended up reading it.
鳩人間と物乞いのお話とか、キャラメルと三角定規が格闘するお話とか、面白くて。
There was a story about a pigeon man and a beggar, a story about a piece of caramel and a triangle ruler wrestling. They were interesting. Yeah, I suppose they would be. It didn't feel so bad to hear all that. I grinned as I took a step closer to him. Don't step closer to the creepy guy that says he has read your manuscripts without permission.
さっき伺ったお名前、何でしたっけ？
I asked your name earlier, but what was it again?
氷川喜十郎と申します。博士と呼んでください。
My name is Kijiro Hikawa. Please call me Professor.
博士？
Professor? I wasn't even going to ask what his field of study was. Maybe Professor was something like a nickname. If it was a nickname, I had one too.
私は玉も。
I'm
玉森くんですよね。
Tamamori-kun, right?
え？
原稿の著名にそう書いてありましたから。
Oh, he's weird!
いいな。こうして
He's a little weird!
口にできるなんて。
He's a little weird. It was written on your manuscripts. I'm so happy being able to say your name like this. Me too, Tamamori! Formerly a weirdo, currently a nutcase.
それで探していた本は見つかったんですか？
So, did you find the book you were looking for?
いえ。でももういいんです。僕は今、君の原稿に夢中なので。
That's alright. Right now I'm obsessed with your manuscripts. No thank you. No thank you. Formerly a weirdo, currently a nutcase.
私の原稿に
With my manuscripts? The man, or rather, Professor, was slowly coming closer. Don't come any closer! No! I'm okay. I'm okay.
今日店番が終わったら僕の家に来てくれませんか？
When you're done watching the store for the day, why don't you come over to my house? I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to.
君とじっくり、それはじっくりとお話ししたくて、今日はお誘いに参ったのです。
I'd like to have a nice long chat with you, so I came to invite you over.
申し訳ありませんが、私は浪人生の身、怠惰に過ごしている時間はないのです。
Oh, first off, you're not. You've given up. You're just writing. I'm so sorry, but I'm a Ronin. Say I don't have such time for frivolities.
そういうことですので。
That's just how it is.
いつなら時間をいただけますか？
Dude, you don't do anything with your life. You have time. You have time. Stranger danger, though. I get it. I too would make an excuse and be like, I can't. Sorry. When will you be free then?
1年はかかる。
Probably in about a year.
残念です。実はもう君をもてなす茶菓子や料理も用意して
Don't
しまっていて。
fall for it, Tamamori. Don't fall for it. That's unfortunate. Actually, I had already arranged for tea, snacks, and a meal to welcome you.
茶菓子と
Tamamori, what did I just say? Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Your choices of men are not great. Just go for Minakami and be done with it. Sir, this is how you die. Tea, snacks, and a meal?
はい。
1年と言いましたが、ちょうど明日の夜が空いています。
I said a year, but I happen to be free tomorrow night. I mean, if there's food.
本当ですか？
Really?
はい。今日の夜も良かったのですが、東洋キネマの方に野暮用がありまして。
Tonight would have been fine too, but I have some minor business to attend to at Toyo Cinema.
活動写真に？
At
お
the
忙しいんじゃ。
movies? So you weren't actually busy.
活動写真は風俗研究の一環です。それを怠惰と捉えますか？
Movies are a way to research society. Do you think that's a waste of time?
ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。嫌わないでください。
Sorry, please don't hate me. As his face turned red, Professor withdrew like a turtle hiding from embarrassment.
それでは明日の夜、君を迎えに行きます。それでは。
Well, I'll come pick you up tomorrow night. Goodbye. And with a somewhat nervous look on his face, he skipped away. Even though I'd been lured by tea snacks into accepting, the day itself was guaranteed to be a pain. It depended on how I happened to be feeling when the time came. I honestly couldn't have cared less whether he liked me or not. It was 5 o'clock in the evening. I still had time before the movie. I would have liked an airplane, though. I muttered by the register as I rocked the goldfish watering can Professor had given me. Okay, first off, you're being picky about a gift from a creepy guy that told you to call him Professor and then invited you to his house, and you said yes. I think we need to get our priorities straight here, Tamamori. I really think we need to get our priorities straight. I know that's hard for you, it's a BL game, but like, come on. My goodness. My goodness. I had a feeling, but no customers came after that. The shopkeeper hadn't returned either. It was time to close up shop, so I shut the doors and started walking towards Toyo Cinema. I don't like the creepy music. When I began to stroll down Hakusan Street, I heard angry shouting coming from somewhere. Say that one more time. You didn't hear me? You're a tax thief. Oh. I looked across the street and saw a soldier and a drunk arguing. After the Navy had been reduced and disarmament enforced, the harsh criticism soldiers received had gotten worse, despite their pampered status not so long ago. The military was getting hit hard. Now, the world was a rough place for soldiers. Cry me a river, man. Maybe someone like me, who was hooked on tea and sweets, had it good. There was a crowd forming outside of Toyo Cinema, so the show must have been starting soon. Toyo Cinema was a movie theater that had just opened a year ago. And if it wasn't awesome enough, in order to attract customers, it would borrow films, like today's movies, from Nikatsu and rerun them. Why is the creepy music still happening? Why is the creepy music still happening? It felt kind of strange when I thought about how all the people here liked horror films. It wasn't as crowded as Asukusaroku, but I liked it here more, with its gloomy atmosphere. When the doors opened, the crowd began to move. I figured if I stood there, Minakami would show up eventually. I strained my eyes, but I couldn't find that cop ahead of his at all. Maybe he'd gotten lost in the crowd. Please show up, Minakami. I'm scared. Oh, please show up and comfort me, Minakami. For now, I looked at the ticket and checked my seat number. I wasn't a child. Things came up. Shit happened. I followed the back of the crowd and entered Toyo Cinema. I walked by the people who were already seated and sat down in my own seat. The one next to me was completely empty, of course. 5, then 10 minutes went by, but he didn't seem to be coming. Eventually, all the seats except Minakami's had been filled, and the entrance was blocked by the standing customers. Minakami, I'm not sure if your luck is really good or really bad. Brushed the damp halved ticket in my hand and then stuffed it deep into my pocket. Now then, let the curtains rise. Where's Minakami? Where's my boy? Where's my boy? I want to know where my boy is. Why is he not here? I have to know. Please. Please, where's my boy? When it comes to the right eye, there's also a left. A right hand and a left hand, a right brain and a left brain. The body is split into 2 halves. You only have 1 heart and 1 stomach, but there is more than enough proof that people can also have 2 personalities. Dr. Jekyll was a man wavering between good and evil. Through rigorous research to find the evil within him, he eventually awakens the scoundrel Mr. Hyde. Split personalities. I had never doubted that I was me. That may have been because I knew I was a half-assed person and accepted my own darkness. Yeah, you are. You are. That's a good way to put it. The movie was over. People began to silently head home. A horrible man let out a loud, long yawn. That was hard to read. I watched the crowd leave as I glanced at the empty seat beside me. It was a seat right in the center. If Minakami had tried to come in after the film started, people would have complained, so he wouldn't have had any other choice than to stand and watch. Suddenly, someone came up behind me. You're late. That's not Minakami. The person standing behind me was the caramel seller. Today's show is over. When I finally looked around, I saw that the theater really was empty. My friend hasn't come back. What does your friend look like? He has a kappa head and squinty eyes. Oh, I know him. I don't think he came to tonight's showing. Then how would you know him? He came today at noon. He'd come to the matinee showing of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What? Didn't you check with him, Oni-san? I didn't check with him, but... What did this mean? We had definitely agreed to meet for the evening show. Perhaps seeing through my shortcomings, the caramel seller smiled cruelly. If you want to ask me anything else, you'll have to make it worth my while. No thanks, sorry for staying so late. The look he made told me he didn't care. I stood up from my seat and passed the frigid guy. As usual, it was pouring outside. I stared out at the rain for a while, the lightning flashing down. I returned to the lobby, but no matter how long I waited, it didn't look like Minakami was coming. What happened to him? Where is he? Where is my boy? A fly tirelessly flew around and around an exposed light bulb. I found myself starting to fidget as I watched its shadow on the floor. I was annoyed. Annoyed. He was making me wait alone in a place like this. Oh. You're still here, Oni-san. Today's shows are over. I know. Didn't you just get Rude. Didn't you just get the time you were supposed to meet wrong? Absolutely not. This kid is throwing punches. Yeah, right. You don't seem too bright. I'm a customer. How dare you speak to me like that? And if you were a customer with any common sense, you would have left before we closed. Why was everyone treating me with such contempt? I directed my childish rage towards Minakami. Minakami was a pretty mysterious guy. What made him mysterious was something not even I as a writer could explain. How could I put it? He was way too nice. He was always smiling. No matter what kind of foolish thing Kawase and I did, it may have shocked him, but it never made him hate us. When I told him, "Look, a bird is flying," he took his eyes away from his book and said, "So there is." He'd once read a book on the different species of birds. That's why I brought up the subject. But he didn't say anything else. It was only when I asked him about how birds fly that he began to gush. Quiet and reserved. Minakami was a walking encyclopedia. I had the feeling that he was like a deep lake that made no waves. That's the kind of guy Minakami was. It was mysterious even for him to make plans, but then go see the same film at noon and disappear at night. Right, it was mysterious. Anyway, there was only one way to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling. I crossed Suido Bridge and headed towards Koshikawa. That was where the nostalgic Oizumi residence was. The madam of the house hated me. She would even give Minakami more food than me during meals. The snake-eye umbrella that the old hag carried around really suited her. I obviously couldn't ask her directly if Minakami was home. If I circled around to the back, his room would be... At that moment, the sliding door rattled open and Madame came out. I immediately hid behind a telephone pole. Oh. Hi. The old hag really was sharp. That's your shabby umbrella, isn't it, Tama-san? Good evening. Good evening. What do you want? Today, I'm in a hurry. Sorry, it's nothing. Oh, she's mean too. I see. I'll be going out, but don't even think about coming in. Is Minakami... Mina-san is out. He said he was going to the movies. I gave him tickets for a horror film. When did he leave? The old woman grinned. Why are you being cagey? Just tell me where my boy is! If you're saying you don't know anything, then I haven't heard anything either. I don't... Rude. I don't know the details. But he doesn't have as much free time as you. She stared at me as if evaluating my worth, then started to hurry past. Suddenly, she stopped right next to me and scoffed. Only your shoes are in good shape. Thank you. It wasn't a compliment. Make sure you keep them clean. Leaving me with her confusing insult, she disappeared into the fog. I felt the years of my life return when the sound of her footsteps vanished. But why wasn't Minakami home? I doubted he was still at the Imperial University's library. With nowhere to go, I stood there for a while. That was when a young man ran right by me.
Naoshi-kun.
Naoshi-kun?
ちょっと待ってくれ、話を。
Hey, wait, I need to ask you. He had already disappeared into the house. I helplessly pulled back my outstretched hand and put it into my sleeve. I let out a sigh for the 100th time. Naoshi Oizumi, Naoshi-kun, was Madame's only son. He didn't go to school because he was sickly or something, but it wasn't like he was a shut-in. He hung around Jinbocho. He didn't seem to have a very good relationship with Madame, so they purposefully went out of their way to avoid each other. That alone was reason enough for Naoshi and I to get along. I want to come in and visit you, Naoshi-kun. He would probably see through a scheme like that. I ended up circling around to the back of the house and peeking through the gaps in the fence in front of Minakami's room. The lights weren't on. It didn't look like he had come home, just like Madame had said. I pulled my face away from the fence and shook off the droplets of water. Then lifted my chilled head toward the rainy sky once more. Had I made some kind of mistake? Maybe we weren't supposed to meet at Toyo Cinema, but at Suido Bridge. We had met at Suido Bridge both the time we went to Asakusa's Junikai and when we went up to Ginza. But when we went to Toyo Cinema last month, we had met up at the theater. There was only one last possibility. Maybe we hadn't really had plans to meet in the first place. No. I rode the streetcar in total confusion and returned to Umebachido in a daze. Lightning spilled into my room before I could even turn on the light. That's when I saw the unbelievable scene before me. Oh! The goldfish. The poor baby. Oh. Poor baby. He is no longer. My goldfish was floating. When I turned on the light, the unmistakable reality finally burned itself into my eyes. When I fell to my knees and got closer, the strong smell of death hit my nose. I was in total shock. I folded an error-laden manuscript page and placed it over the fishbowl. They say goldfish don't die, they ascend to that big fishbowl in the sky. It felt better to say it about a fish that had passed away on its own than one that had died on a cutting board. Well, that was the gist of it anyway. I wasn't sure what made this goldfish special or even what sort of personality he had, but I avoided using the word died. It wasn't out of affection, but because I knew death was something repulsive. Once it stopped raining, I'd give it a proper burial. The fish! I lay down in the futon I never bothered to put away and remembered Minakami. The guy had probably gone off somewhere. You ate way too much. Welcome back, Knight. The guy had probably gone off somewhere for some reason. I was surprised by how quickly I accepted that. The rain beat steadily against the window. When I happened to turn onto my back and look up at the sky, my wife had me make, like, everything because we packed it for lunches for the next couple days. Oh. Well, I mean, chef's perks, right? You make the food, you get to eat a little of the food, but grilled 2 steaks, 7 pieces of chicken, and a dozen bacon-wrapped jalapeno poppers. That's a lot of food. That is a lot of food. I could see the shape of the sun behind the clouds. Morning had come at some point. I turned off the light I'd left on all night, then lay on my stomach. Yeah, for two of you though, 7 pieces of chicken? 2 steaks is like, okay, yeah, that's fair. 7 pieces of chicken? That's a lot of chicken! I turned off the light I left on all night and then lay on my stomach. I must have been feeling so lazy because of the bad weather. Elena takes lunch and dinner to work because she works 12-hour shifts. Oh, that's fair, though. So a piece for each meal. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Most troubling affliction in this world wasn't stiff shoulders or a sore stomach. It was listlessness like this. For 2 days plus 2 days for... Yeah, I guess that checks out. But like, wow. That is a lot of food to cook at once. When it got really bad, the whole day went to waste. Couldn't manage to wake up this morning, so I was going to be late for work, and any plans I had for afterwards would be more trouble than they were worth. I hope you can understand, boss. Just when I figured I'd go back to bed, something hit the tatami with a clack. It was like someone had struck a wooden clapper from a kabuki show right beneath me. I couldn't sleep with all the noise, so I hurriedly ran downstairs. Kawase had come in on the first floor. He had a handkerchief pressed up against his nose and mouth and was holding a broom in his other hand. Apparently, he had been striking the ceiling with the handle. Kawase, I'm gonna beat you! When he saw me, he politely handed me the broom. What do you think you're doing so early in the morning? If you wanted to wake me up, you should have come upstairs.
そうしようかと思ったんだけど、ここは土足厳禁って思い出してね。
I thought about that, but then I remembered I wasn't allowed in with my shoes on. You're obviously not allowed to hit the ceiling with a broom either.
君ってほんと他人に厳しいよね。
When it comes to other people's behavior, you really are strict. Kawase struck a match. Hey! I've also told you smoking wasn't allowed. You're in a bookshop, Kawase!
古本は箔がついてこそだって言ってなかった？
And didn't I say it would increase the value of these old books? And I'm saying nicotine stains won't increase their value. Kawase leaned against a bookshelf with a thud and let out a long, thin stream of smoke. There was plenty I wanted to say about that attitude of his, but I dragged myself to the register instead. Seriously. What do you want? You didn't just come here to bother. You didn't come here just to bother me.
そうなんだけど。しかしここにある本を全部読むなんて。Minakamiのやつ。
That's true. Still, to have read all the books here, Minakami was pretty insane. He's been like that for a long time.
そういえば、昔から狂ってると思ってたよ。
Now that you mention it, I've always thought he was crazy. While we were learning grammar particles, he had been reading Kyoka Izumi's The Poor People's Club. I'd never once thought he was normal, though he didn't surprise me anymore. But Kawase was looking at the bookshelves with awfully fresh eyes. Why are you saying it like he's dead? Please don't be dead, Minakami. He's the only character I'm like, yes, we should trust him and care about him and love him. I was never able to understand a thing about Minakami. Don't you mean you've never tried to understand him?
言えてるね。そういう君は理解できてた。
You could say that. You were able to understand a guy like him?
私は少なくともそのつもりでいた。例えば、奴は突拍子もない世界が好きなのだ。自分の知見と重ならない常識外れの物語を特に好む。類行とか、旧作とかな。
Gosh, it's already 5:42. Wow, okay, we're gonna go for another 15-ish minutes. Well, yeah. Oops, I didn't mean to go over my time that much. At the very least, I've tried. For instance, I know he likes fantastical worlds. He especially likes stories that don't overlap with his own experiences, ones that go beyond common sense, like Ruiko or Kyusaku.
それにしては同じ本を2度読まない。
And yet he'd never read the same book twice.
No.
Yeah.
本当に好きな物語だったらさ、擦り切れて穴が開くほど読み込むはずだよね。
If there was a story he truly loved, he'd probably wear it out until there were holes in it. He muttered, his eyes somewhat vacant. He wasn't looking at the bookshelves. From the start, it had been as if he were staring out at some scene in the distance.
擦り切れるってのはよっぽどじゃないか?
Wearing it out is exaggerating, isn't it?
でも俺はそういう人間を知ってる。
I do know someone like that, though.
本当に好きな小説ならば、鑑賞用と消耗用と保存用の3点は必須だが、
Whoa, if I'm going to really, really like a novel, it has to be three things: enjoyable, consumable, and persevering. Right? Yeah, persevering. I
そ
can
の人
read.
の場合、手元にあるのは消耗用の1点だけだった。
In that person's case, whatever he had in his hands was only consumable.
誰の話してるんだ？
Who are you talking about?
ああ、脱線したね。水上の話だった。
Ugh, I got off topic. We were talking about Minakami. Kawase, why are you being so cagey? Why are you cagey in the first place, alright? First off, just say what you want. Dang. Kawase blew out some smoke, then took in another puff. I was wondering why he was speaking so calmly. The whole thing was making me feel uneasy.
それとも、あいつは一度読んだだけで何もかも記憶できるから、本を読み返す必要はないのかな。
Or maybe it was because he could read something once and remember everything about it. He never needed to read anything twice.
おそらくそれだな。ちなみに私も本を読み返さないが、理由はそれだ。
That's probably it. Speaking of which, if I don't reread a book, it's for the same reason.
君とはちょっと違うだろう。奴は小学校の教科書から何まで全部記憶してる。君の場合は自分に都合のいいことだけだ。
It's a little different for you. He remembered everything he'd read, all the way back to his elementary school textbooks. In your case, it's just whatever's convenient for you. I could remember interesting words and passages. I had most of Ruiko's works memorized, for example. I was confident I could get every word of his correct, from the first page down to the release date and publishing details. But it was strange. If I didn't like it, if it was a tough read, or if I had even the slightest prejudice toward it. The paper itself looked completely blank to me. That happened to me during the Imperial University's entrance exam. And that's why I had to frantically search for the questions on blank pages. The result, as you know, was failure. But Minakami was different. Just like Kawase mentioned, the guy could remember everything from his elementary school textbooks to what he had for breakfast over a decade ago. As if he were reading them out of a diary. That was probably the main reason he never read the same book twice. But why was Kawase bringing that up now?
用がないなら帰ってくれ。お前だってそろそろ講義の時間だろ。
If you have no business here, leave. You have class soon, right?
ここへ来るのに欠席の連絡を入れてるから、それに関して心配ないよ。
Why are you skipping class? I contacted them before I came to tell them I'd be absent. Don't worry about that.
そんなに私といたいのか。
You want to hang out with me that badly?
いや、どこから話せばいいのかわからなくて。
No, I just don't know where to start. With what?
どこからって。
Where to start?
早くから私を叩き起こした起因たる旗迷惑な本題にまだ入っていないのか？
You still haven't gotten to the point of this annoying conversation. Isn't this the whole reason you woke me up so early in the morning?
早くからって言うけど、もうすぐ昼だよ。
You say early, but it's almost noon. It's early! That's early! I was directing my boiling anger toward him, but meanwhile Kawase seemed to be avoiding my eyes. He finally lowered the brim of his cap, casting a shadow over his expression.
君は昨日の夜、どこで何してた？
Last night, where were you and what did you do?
東洋キネマだ。活動写真に行っていた。
Toyo Cinema. I went to see a movie.
一人で。
Alone.
一人って。
Alone.
ってなぜそれを？
Did you know?
水上に一人で活動に行けって言われたの。
Minakami told you to go to the movies alone?
奴は来なかったのだ。
He didn't come.
だから何なのだ。言いたいことがあるならはっきり言え。
What about it? If you have something to say, go ahead and say it.
水上が死んだんだ。
No! 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 I thought he was a dateable route. Why is he dead? Kawase, what do you mean? You're joking, right?
心当たりがないかと思って聞きに来たんだけど。
Figured you might know something, so I came to ask. For no particular reason, Kawase dropped his cigarette and snubbed it out with the toe of his shoe.
おい待て、ここは道路じゃないんだぞ。
Hey, knock it off, this isn't the street.
ああ、ごめん。やばいな。動揺しているかもしれない。
Sorry. Damn, maybe I really am shaken up by this.
もう何回目だその動揺は。ってだから、水上がどうしたって？
He's not even processed. Since when have you ever been shaken up? That's why... What was that about Minakami?
柳橋の下に引っかかってたんだって。
He was struck under Yanagi Bridge. Yanagi Bridge? The bridge in Asakusa? The one past Otonomizu at the end of Konda River. I'd only heard the names, but in my confusion, the geography wasn't coming to mind.
今朝俺の家に電話がかかってきたんだ。だからほら、行くよ。
I received a phone call this morning, so let's go.
行くって。
Oh, where?
浅草警察署の死体安置所だ。身元確認を頼まれている。
The morgue at the Asakusa police station. I've been asked to identify the body.
一ついいか？
Can I ask just one thing?
何？
お前は一体何の話をしているんだ？
What the hell are you talking about?
水上が死んだ話だ。
About Minakami's death. I said something brief to the shopkeeper, then rode the streetcar with Kawase. There seemed to be a lot of people wearing face masks. Visible germs scattered about with all the coughs and sneezes. Kawase, the germaphobe that he was, seemed to have decided to spend the nearly hour-long trip holding his breath, and didn't move an inch the entire time. I just looked in the opposite direction with my mouth agape like my goldfish. Oh yeah, his goldfish died. It just happened. He had that bad feeling when he handed Minakami his manuscript and left him at the bridge, and then it just happened. We got off at Shintokiwa Bridge, transferred to the Maromachi line, and came to Asakusa Bridge. After walking for a while, we stood in front of Asakusa Police Station's South Motomachi branch. That's when we finally spoke.
嫌だったら来なくていいんだよ。
You don't have to come in if you don't want to.
何も恐れることはない。
I'm not afraid of anything. I don't know if this is going to be graphic, but this game is rated mature, so here's your warning.
カフェでも行こうか。
Why don't we go to the cafe?
ああ。
Uh-huh. When we got back to the cafe... Okay, I guess they just didn't want to go in. When we got back to the cafe near Konda Bridge, we ordered our usual coffees. Kawase sipped his, but mine was getting cold as I stirred it with my spoon for the 100th time. What was I so sad about? Oh, they had gone in. There was no mistake, the corpse was Minakami's. It was cold in there. Well, wait, does stirring coffee keep it warm? No, I think it gets colder. Did I say it wrong? It said something about his coffee was getting colder because he was stirring it over and over. It was like he wasn't even dead. Oh. He just looked like he was sleeping, seemingly oblivious that he was bound for his grave.
水上は死んでいない。
Minakami didn't die.
水難者は上がったというのだ。
Oh, so anyone that wasn't here when we talked about the goldfish, Tamamori doesn't like saying died. Even for his goldfish that he was not attached to, in quotation marks. The goldfish didn't die, it ascended to the big goldfish bowl in the sky. Hence why he's saying this. They say those who drowned ascend. Minakami ascended. He doesn't want to say died. But there were strangulation marks on his neck.
長い紐も見ただろ。水死じゃない。
Oh,
首吊りだよ。
my boy. You saw that long rope. He didn't drown. He hung.
首吊り。誰がそんなこと。
Who would do such a thing? That's kind of where we're gonna probably go, I would assume. I knew there was a mystery involved. I didn't know they were gonna kill off my favorite character.
誰かって。警官も自殺です。
Why would he commit suicide? The officer said it was a suicide.
自殺なんかするわけない。誰かが水上を考察して川へ投げたのだ。
There's no way he would kill himself. Someone strangled Minakami to death and threw him into the river.
君ってば本当に話を聞いていないな。水道橋に同種の紐が結んであったと言っただろう。
You really weren't listening at all. They said they found the same kind of rope tied to Suido Bridge.
だからなんだというのだ。
So what about it?
橋から落ちた拍子に首の骨が折れて即死。その後紐が切れて川に落ち、流れて柳橋。
Oh, if you had met up at the bridge. His neck broke as soon as he fell from the bridge and he died instantly. Then the rope snapped and he fell into the river and floated down to Yanagi Bridge.
殺されたのだ。
He was killed.
あのね君。
Come on. Kawase was about to let out an annoyed sigh, but he suppressed it and seemed to finally give up.
でも何千何万って物語を読んできて、人生最後に選んだ物語が狂える悪魔ね。
We're gonna end off on such a stark, contrasting note to what we started on. Still, he read thousands of stories, and yet for the last story of his life, he chose Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
魅力があるとは思えないんだけどな。
I didn't think it would appeal to him, though.
水上はなぜ帝大に行かなかったのだろ
Why didn't Minakami go to the university?
う。なぜ私に嘘をついて昼の部の活動写真を一人で見に行ったのだろう。
Why did he lie to me and go to the matinee alone?
玉森くんがわからないんじゃ、もう誰にもわからないよ。
You don't know Tamamori-kun, then no one does. Or there was another possibility. Maybe he'd gone to see it with someone else.
通り魔の仕業だ。
This was the act of a murderer. I agree. I agree.
神保町に現れる怪人の話だ。
I'm talking about the phantom that's been seen around Jinbocho.
それは君の空想の話だろう。夜な夜な人をさらう怪人とかいう。
Isn't that from your fantasy story? The phantom that abducts people night after night?
だから現実に怪人はいるのだ。
There's a phantom in the real world, too.
いろいろやばいよ、玉森くん。
That's some bullshit, Tamamori-kun.
みんな傘を差して自分の足元しか見ていない。だから誰が誰を川に突き落とそうと見ていない。目撃者がいないのはそういうことだ。
Everyone's been under their umbrellas. They wouldn't have been able to see anything other than their own feet. So if someone was pushed into the river, no one would have seen it. That's why there were no witnesses.
誰も現場を見ていないのはそういうことかもね。
It's true that no one saw him at the actual scene of the incident.
だろう。
Exactly.
でも自殺だよ。
But it was a suicide. Suicide? Wasn't suicide the perfect suspected cause of death the culprit could hope for? How dare Kawase accept that so readily?
お前、それでも友達か。
Aren't you his friend?
友達だからこそ自殺の理由を探してあげてるんじゃないか。
It's because we were friends that I'm trying to think of a reason why he'd kill himself. Understanding that that was Kawase's way of showing kindness, I lowered my raised fist. Kawase was the same as me. He couldn't understand any of it either. But the reality was that we were beginning to think of how we would mourn for Minakami in our own ways. If at all possible, I would have liked to feel the same as Kawase. But
差し置くわけがない。
there's no way he'd leave out.
差し置く？誰が？何を？
Leave out? Who? What?
あいつが
Him.
私を。
Me! Minakami had crammed the impressions of all the books he had read into his notebook, but my name wasn't in there at all. Not even the character for Tama in Tamamori. Character for Mori wasn't in there either.
もしかして君さ、君は水上が死んだことより 水上が自分に何も残さなかった。
Kawase, I need you
ショ
to.
ックを受ける。
I know you're trying to be the realist here, but I don't appreciate it. Could it be that you're more shocked that Minakami didn't leave you anything than you are by his death? Not understanding what he meant, I fell silent. Kawase suddenly laughed.
そりゃ二重にショックだよね。あいつあんなに君に惚れてたのにさ。
It's doubly shocking, since he was so in love with you.
俺が死んでも君はそんな風に悲しんでくれる？
Will you be this sad when I die?
はあ？当たり前だろ。
Worse.
どうして？
Why?
友達だからに決まってるだろ。お前も水上も。
Because we're friends, obviously. You and Minakami are... They were my friends. Minakami, Kawase, and even Hanazawa, who wasn't here. We were childhood friends who had been together for as long as I could remember. I could even call them my best friends. I could probably call Kawase a bad friend, but Minakami and I were friends bonded by pure trust and friendship.
さっきから何が言いたいのだ。お前までおかしくなったのか？
What have you been trying to say this whole time? Have you gone insane?
おかしくなっちゃいないさ。ただ自分があまりにも薄情な人間。
You are pretty heartless, Kawase. Gonna be honest. I haven't gone insane. I was just thinking about how heartless of a heartless human being I am.
その友達が死んだのに涙の一つ流れやしない。
Even though a friend has died, I haven't shed a single tear.
そんなめめしい真似できるわけない。
Like you would do something so feminine.
あいつとの思い出の一つや二つも思い出せない。
I can't even think of one or two memories of him.
それはさすがに薄情すぎる。
That's definitely way too
だっ
heartless.
たら友達って何なんだろうね。
If that's the case, though, were we even friends?
どうしてこんな俺を後始末に選んだんだろう。
I kind of want to know that too. Why did he choose me to handle his final affairs? Kawase's address and phone number were scribbled in the back of Minakami's notebook. He hadn't even chosen me to handle his final affairs. The question Kawase had asked himself sounded more viciously sarcastic than usual to me.
じゃあな、店に戻る。
Bye, I'm going back to the shop.
そう、明日の昼水上を田舎に連れ帰ることになってる。
Right, I'll be leaving.
君も俺と一緒に来なよ。
I'll be leaving tomorrow at noon to take Minakami back to the country. Come with me. I'll be waiting at Suido Bridge.
いいかん。
I'm not going.
どうして？ついでにおばあちゃんに元気な顔を見せておやるよ。
Why? You could show your grandma your smiling face while you're there.
あんなど田舎二度と戻りたくない。
I don't want to go back to that backwater town ever again.
あ、そう。
I see.
ただいま戻りました。
I'm back.
はい。
Okay. I got to work as usual. It felt like the shopkeeper's voice was awfully close. His shadow clung to the shoji.
ご友人でしたか？
Was it a friend of yours?
はい。上がっていたのはいつも本を借りに来ていた友人に間違いありませんでした。
Yes, the deceased is my friend who always came to borrow books. It was definitely him.
そうですか。ご愁傷さんです。さぞおつらかったでしょう。
I see. I'm sorry for your loss. It must be difficult for you.
店を閉めてすみません。
Sorry for closing the shop.
いえいえ、今日は休んでいてもいいんですよ。
No, it's alright if you just want to take today off.
もう店は閉められませんから。
We can't close the shop now. I tried saying something sincere, but deep inside I just wanted to lay down and bury my face in my pillow until I could barely breathe.
天使も夜は気をつけてください。これは怪人の仕業なんです。
You be careful at night too, boss. A phantom did it.
怪人？
Phantom?
ええ。どうやらこの神保町に怪人が現れるようなんです。6色もある大男で。
I don't want to say it, because we don't know. But there's a chance that the shopkeeper is the Phantom, because he's never seen him, and he was out last night. I'm just saying. There seems to be a monster appearing around Jinbocho, a giant over 6 feet tall.
君は風の噂を信じているのかい？
Do you believe the rumors going around?
いえね。君はまだ物語の中にいるようだから。
You don't, do you? You seem to still be in one of your stories. Stories?
現実は探偵物語じゃないのだよ。
Reality isn't a detective story.
現実の犯人は限られた中にしかいない。あるいは犯人などいない。
The culprit can only be someone that exists in reality. Either that, or there is no culprit.
あなたに何がわかるんですか？
What would you know?
君が分子として成長する良い機会かもしれませんよ。
I really don't like the shopkeeper all of a sudden. It's bad vibes. It's bad vibes. Oh my gosh, I ran over time again. It's bad vibes. We're gonna end at the end of this conversation.
人が死んだのに成長？
To grow, even though someone died?
あなたはご友人を失った。失った分は何かで補わなければいけません。
You lost a friend. You need something to fill that void.
そんな合理的に言われても。
Even if what you're saying makes sense.
でも、君なら理解できるはずです。
But you should be able to understand.
分かってほしいのは、
No! 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 No. No. I want you to understand I was trying to encourage you in my own way. Losing Minakami was like losing a piece of myself. Look for that piece and hang on to it. That must have been what the shopkeeper was trying to say. I don't trust him. The cold way he said it, though, disregarded my personal feelings and made me face a logical reality. But if I were the shopkeeper, I probably would have said the same thing. If I were to take it in a broader sense, it was like he was saying I should be thankful I was still alive. I thought that was reasonable. But at the moment, those words didn't resonate with me at all, because although I understood I had lost Minakami, I didn't feel any sense of emptiness or loss. It must have been because of this terrible, uncomfortable feeling I had.
すみません。
I'm sorry, I lied.
つきました。
はて、嘘とは一体何だろう。
Oh my, what exactly did you lie about?
全然辛くないんです。
It's not difficult at all.
昨日まで会っていた知人が死んだのに全然悲しくないんです。
Okay, so we've established Hanmamori is like a big fat liar. That doesn't understand how to cope with things. He didn't cope with his goldfish death, and he's not coping with Minakami's. Even though the friend I saw up until yesterday is dead, I'm not the least bit sad. I would never see that carefree face ever again. I would never hear that laid-back voice ever again. I did my best to understand that.
私は最低な人間なのかもしれません。
Maybe I'm a terrible person after all.
その自覚があるだけで、あなたは十分善人ですよ。
I don't trust the shopkeeper. I don't like the way he's like, I was just trying to encourage you. No. I don't trust that. And also it sounded like there was a double meaning there. Just being aware of that makes you a sufficiently good person.
ね。
Right? I lay across the counter. Thought if I put my face down, the tears would flow. But behind my eyelids, what surfaced clearly was Minakami's profile as he read a book. That's where we're ending!
セーブするのだ。
That's where we're gonna end! We're still in the prologue? Prologue 3. My gosh, this game is gonna be so long. I didn't look up how long this game would take. But we're 3.5 hours in. So, hooray! Hooray! Okay, so we're gonna stream tomorrow. Tomorrow probably will not be this. Probably save this for like every few days, so we can get some variation in. Tomorrow we were gonna try and play something a little bit more action focused. What are the options? Vote on. We've got some. I will put a poll in my Discord server. If you're not already in my Discord server, DM me. I'll send you the link. But we'll do a poll about what we do tomorrow. Otherwise, if you guys want, we'll do this tomorrow again. So, thank you for joining me. It got really depressing near the end, but it's a good cliffhanger. So, oh boy. Let's see who we can raid into, because I don't think anyone is doing anything similar to this. Anyone I'm following? We can go see what Haru's doing. Haru is playing Final Fantasy XIV. So I know you guys like 14 here. We can do that. I don't know where she's at. I probably won't stay long because I think it's probably spoilers. But that's where we're gonna head. We're gonna go to Haru's chat. And I will see you all over there. Okay. Okay, thank you for joining me today. We had fun. It was a very different experience, but we had fun.